Love when the text line's already heated before I even sit down in the chair. Preferred Home Services text line is 71307. And Lonzo, I don't know what this is about, but I want to. Texter says, hey, Liberob, I'm sure you know the Star Spangled Banner when you hear it, unlike your partner, Conservazo, end quote.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You ever been so frustrated about something that's going on that you can't wrap this something totally leaves your brain and you can't really discuss it or say the reason why? And there were some technical issues that are out of my hands, not in this building, by the way, that are making me pretty angry, and it takes a lot to get me somewhere. And I couldn't think. And so I was asked, there was a question about, the national anthem. Apparently it was, constructed and created. I don't remember the question.
Okay.
Because when I missed the answer,
it was so long ago.
When I missed the answer, it's like, I might as well quit.
I mean, went into rage.
No, I even said I resign. I mean, I just, it's time for the segment is over. The show is over. I might as well leave. But how often is the Star Spangled Banner mentioned as the national anthem? It's and now to perform the national anthem, Rob Brown, not now to perform the Star Spangled Banner.
Right.
It's
Star Spangled Banner, of course, being the title of the song.
Yes.
Which serves as the national anthem.
I answered the Monica Lewinsky question right, but I couldn't remember the Star Spangled Banner. So, whatever.
And of all the stations that you could have made that mistake on.
Oh, listen.
You were judged harshly this morning, Lonzo, weren't you?
I deserve it. I absolutely deserve it. But I'm also, as the host mentioned, Vince Coakley, that he's also having trouble with names and things. He and I are getting older. So, eventually that segment will be canceled just because I won't be able to remember anything. That's how it's going to work.
And for the record, for those of you that have never played radio like we do every day, for those of you, Lonzo is doing two jobs, right? Like you hear Lonzo and Lonzo's interactions with me or with Vince on the air. And obviously that's the character of the great one that you have all fallen head over heels in love with. But while that's happening, and if you watch the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Lonzo is like a droid behind the board over there. He's got buttons. When I make the joke about button switches, levers, knobs, gears, wheels, and pulleys, like only two of those don't actually exist. All the rest do, and Lonzo's doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why he's the executive producer. And frankly, the reason that we have a Crystal Trophy sitting in the Casa de Amor right now. So get off my dog is all I'm saying. Get off my boy.
Bring all of it. I deserve all the ire that I get for missing that. That's the price you pay for playing the game. Sometimes it doesn't go your way, and you got to take it. You got to take the good with the bad. I should not have missed that answer. Come this time next year when the question is asked again, because it's a day in history question, I will do my best to remember it. If I'm still here.
We'll see if we get that same text next year.
If I don't walk out the door today, an embarrassment. Hey, you know what? Let's talk sports.
Okay, but only because the executive producer said so. Busy day on the show today. In fact, a very busy, I guess busy from start to finish. Coming up at 12:30 today, Cory Diaz of the Greenville News is going to join us at the show. He was yesterday in Columbia attending the press conference that was held with the transfers to South Carolina, including your new, we assume, starting quarterback Spencer Rattler. And I'll tell you, Rattler was, as much as you can trust what he said, everybody puts on a face when there's cameras pointed at it, was impressive. Was impressive in the way he answered questions. So we'll talk to Cory Diaz about that. He is also on his way to Nash Vegas, Tennessee, home of this year's Southeastern Conference Women's Basketball Tournament, where Dawn Staley's gals, the number one team in the country, are also the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. We'll talk to him about his thoughts on the Lady Gamecocks' run to another SEC title. That's at 12:30. At 1 o'clock, Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. We're going to talk to him as the Panthers not only are at the NFL Combine right now, which we'll get into later as well, but on top of being at the NFL Combine, yesterday, both Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule stood in front of cameras for the first time in a hot minute and had some interesting comments. We're going to break those down with Rashad Beard coming up later on in the show at 1 o'clock. Immediately after that at 1:20, Dan Scott, voice of your Furman Paladins, will join us. Of course, Furman, the 2 seed in the SoCon tournament up in Asheville, North Carolina. Dan will be on the call for the run of the number 2 Paladins through the SoCon tournament. We will talk with Dan Scott a little bit about what he expects to see out of Furman over the next 4 days of SoCon basketball. That's at 1:20. And then, of course, at 2:20, as we do every Thursday, it is Fight Club. And if you are a wrestling fan, huge news coming out of AEW last night that we're going to break down. Tony Khan has made a purchase, and it's a big one if you are into the wrestling. So we'll tell you about that. Of course, this weekend, we have got a massive pay-per-view at the UFC level coming up, and we're going to break that down as well, plus potentially some boxing news getting sprinkled in there as well. So Fight Club at 2:20. Make sure you stick around for that. All of that and more coming your way. But before we get to any of that, let's get to this.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
The lunch breakdown of 3 things you have to know before you start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog. Whoever you spend your lunch break with, this will be what you're discussing. This will be the discussions you have around the lunch table today, ladies and gentlemen. We start with item number 1 on the lunch breakdown. It was Tuesday that Major League Baseball and the Players Association both announced that they had failed to strike a deal and that at least the first 2 rounds of play, the first 2 series of play in Major League Baseball, opening day and through the next weekend, would be canceled to buy extra time. The Major League Baseball owners have said that for health and safety reasons, yeah, okay, wink, wink, that they demand 4 weeks of spring training, regardless of when a deal is struck between the players and the owners. Nothing came out of the harsh negotiations, even though the MLB put a Monday deadline initially, bumped it back to Tuesday. There were rumors that progress was made, but the MLBPA then immediately said, unanimously rejected the final deal, quote unquote, offered by by Rob Manfred and his crew. Well, the negotiations are back on. However, this time they will take on a different form. This time around, you will not have a room full of owners and the commish. You will not have a room full of MLBPA execs and players. Instead, Major League Baseball Deputy Commissioner Dan Halem and MLB Players Association attorney Bruce Meyer will have an informal one-on-one meeting today to resume talks amidst the work stoppage. That according to Jeff Passan. The meeting between Halem and Meyer will take place. These are the 2 lead negotiators in the deal or the efforted deal between the PA and the organization itself. These are the lead negotiators for both sides. They will meet today in New York City to talk a little bit about what has been done, what has not been done, what needs to be done moving forward to get the next round of negotiations off the ground. Owners and players, obviously, All
right. According to Adam Schefter and other sources, the NFL and the NFLPA have agreed to suspend all aspects of joint COVID-19 protocols effective immediately per MMO.
Okay. Not entirely shocked by that. I think we're getting to that point.
Things are back to normal, according to the NFL.
Yeah, I think we'll get to that later in the show because I'm not entirely surprised by it. So we'll come to that here in just a little while. So
breaking news brought to you by
our friends at BetQL. That's correct. I should be better at my job than I am.
Or better at reading my lips as I'm over here
Also
trying
that,
to tell you.
As Lonzo's desperately mouthing breaking news sponsor, breaking news sponsor.
Or the better thing for me to do is to have it over here and me just say it. And then we don't have to worry about it.
I will tell you this. I have many skills. I am exceptionally talented at many things. Reading lips is not one of them.
Yeah. Instead, Rob's like, yeah, he's lost it. Look at him.
Yeah, he's just over there talking to himself.
He's doing that, that old man muttering thing as they walk around.
Lonzo, your mic's not on. No, it's just that Rob's an idiot and can't read lips. I don't know why. I've never been able to do it. I have two massive problems as a musician. Number one, Lonzo, most songs I hear, I can't understand lyrics. I can't hear the lyrics. I mean, I hear the lyrics, but they're. I've
witnessed this firsthand because Rob's like, "Are they speaking in English?"
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
So you're okay.
I lyrics sound like until I read them. Once I read the lyrics, then I can hear them perfectly. But I don't know. Am I the only one that has that problem? Like once I read lyrics, I can hear them perfectly. But before I read lyrics, it just sounds like one mush of sounds pushed all together.
Well, if it's Bob Dylan or anybody that Diesel listens to, I get why you would struggle. I mean, when it's nothing but just like a straight up scream, but there's supposedly words in there. I get that. Some of the other stuff, some of the things I believe you struggle with are difficult because of you're used to enunciation and they don't.
I can't even do Diesel's music. It turns out to be like Steven Tyler on drugs when I try to do scream rock.
My knees can't handle double bass, so I'd be doing it over here for you.
Okay, item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. We have obviously been following the saga of Deshaun Watson to see if and when he will play National Football League football again. Of course, at the Combine, which got day one off the ground yesterday, we have started to hear from coaches, GMs, players around the league, one of them being the new head coach of the Houston Texans because reasons. Lovie Smith is the man in charge there. Lovie said if he has no idea if Deshaun Watson will be on the team's roster next season. No, Lovie, he won't. Now you have an idea. But did say that in order for the situation to progress, they have to create a situation where both teams will, quote, benefit from the situation, end quote. Watson, of course, requested a trade from the Texans in January 2021, who still faces 22 lawsuits alleging sexual assault or inappropriate behavior, reported to training camp last July, but then was healthy scratched for all 17 games, did collect his salary, but did not play in a single game. Smith said at a news conference yesterday, quote, I just know Deshaun is an excellent football player. Excellent football players need to be playing somewhere in the NFL. Hopefully that will happen. And if it's not with us, it's somewhere else. And I'm sure, as I see in this situation, both of us eventually are going to benefit from the situation. And I just can't wait for that to speed up a little bit, end quote. Let me tell you what that is. That is Lovie trying to convince another team to make the trade, right? That's Lovie polishing a turd, as the old expression goes. And you can polish a turd. I hate the expression when you can't polish a turd. You can polish a turd. You know what happens when you polish a turd? You end up with a polished turd, right? It's not changing anything. That's what Lovie's doing here with the whole situation. However, the reason that Lovie decided he needed to do that is because one of the only teams that has made an effort to acquire Deshaun Watson, that would be the Miami Dolphins, have now said that they are out. They are no longer interested in acquiring number 4 from H-Town. Miami GM Chris Grier, who said last season that the team did due diligence on Watson before ultimately deciding against trading for him, said that, quote, the door is shut on Deshaun, end quote. Miami continues to build around Tua Tagovailoa, the 2020 first-round pick for the Dolphins. Grier said that new head coach Mike McDaniel presented a plan for Tua Tagovailoa, and it did not obviously include moving him for Deshaun Watson. Watson's still waiting to find out if he will face criminal charges. Rusty Hardin, his attorney, told ESPN in July that 10 women have filed complaints with Houston police about Watson. 8 of those have filed lawsuits, which makes it increasingly likely, though not definite, that Deshaun Watson will end up facing criminal charges down the line. But one of the only teams that has openly expressed interest in Deshaun, the Miami Dolphins, are now out on that potential trade.
The longer this stretches out, the more I start to believe that Deshaun will never play again. I mean, because this is eventually you miss the window that you were. I know we've seen people come back before,
Sure.
but this is stretched out so long and we don't hear any progress going on. Why would you take a chance of trading for him?
Yeah, look, somebody would let Deshaun play for him if they know he's not facing criminal charges.
Right. It's one thing to know that he's actually going to play, but because of these circumstances, you don't know if when he can step on the field ever again.
And keep in mind, I can almost guarantee you there's going to be an NFL suspension, and I'll almost guarantee you, Lonzo, it's at least 8 games, right? It's at least 8 games. So even if you made the trade for Deshaun, and even if you were able to get him in a bargain, right? Texans are just like, screw it. We want to be done with this. We'll take a second rounder. They won't, but let's say they do, right? If that's the case, you still have the NFL suspension, which could be as long as a year, right? Especially if criminal charges get filed. You could be looking at losing him for yet another year, which then makes it 2 years since the last time Deshaun Watson played football. I don't care who you are. It's going to take some time to get caught back up to speed. Second thing is, again, those criminal charges. If Deshaun Watson ends up facing jail time, that's even worse. Because I doubt the justice system is going to put Deshaun on a weekend release program where he can work out in the yard 5 days a week and then go play football on Sundays. So we'll find out. We'll talk more about that later in the show as well. And finally, item number 3 on the lunch breakdown. I bounced back and forth on this a number of times because there's 2 items. One is Scott Fitter and Matt Rule talking at press conferences at the Combine, but I wanted to move it to this one instead because it shows that momentum is gathering, albeit slowly. We told you earlier this week, back on Monday, that the Indianapolis Colts had become the first NFL team this year to submit a proposal to the NFL's competition committee to try to get the NFL's overtime rules changed, to try to create a situation where the overtime rules aren't drastically changed, but that both teams would get a touch of the football regardless of what the first possession produced. They are now not the only team to submit a proposal. Bills GM Brandon Beane spoke about the NFL's overtime rules during his Tuesday media availability at the Combine and said that the Bills are going to submit a proposal as well. He told Sal Majorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, quote, I do think there will be some changes. I think I don't know how many proposals, but a GM and I laughed at the Senior Bowl that there are going to be 32 different proposals. Beane announced the Bills will be amongst the teams that brings an OT rule change proposal to the table. The Bills, of course, on the wrong end of a 42-36 loss to the Chiefs that saw the team fail to have an offensive possession in overtime after losing the coin toss. Now, Beane, similar to the Colts, did not go into great detail about what that proposal is going to look like, but he did say, similar to in basketball, you play 5 minutes. Baseball, both teams get the top half and the bottom half to hit, so a time limit, and I'm talking about postseason only, to have it play out, and that way both teams will definitely have a chance and maybe even more than one possession. So what it sounds like is that the Bills are going to suggest regular football, Lonzo, but a very short period. So instead of a full 15-minute overtime, maybe you do a 5-minute or a 7-minute overtime, but you play it like a regular football game, right? So team that wins the coin toss will receive, obviously, unless they're idiots. They get their offensive possession. If they're able to run a 5-minute possession and kill off the entire clock and kick a field goal, they win. If they score quickly or don't score, the other team gets the ball. I I'm fine with that. Although I think what I would want to do, Lonzo, is I would want to look at maybe the 10 longest offensive drives this season, right? And I'm talking time-wise, time off the clock. The 10 drives that took the most time off the clock, and I want the overtime period to be 2 minutes longer than that. Whatever the longest drive is, I want it to be 2 minutes longer than that to ensure that there is time for both teams to get possession and then create a shootout situation. And I already hear the echo, which is, what happens if you ended a tie after that? Cool, do it again. Run it back.
Well, the players agree to this, though. They complain about preseason games. This is extra playing time for whether it's a half a quarter or an entire quarter, whatever. It's extra playing time. And where is all the, well, they put all the strain on on their bodies. If they play that much time afterwards, someone could get hurt.
That is absolutely going to be a discussion point. And that's why we're going to bring this back up later on in the show. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we will address that very briefly. At 12:30, Cory Diaz of the Greenville News is going to join us. He was at the presser yesterday for the transfer players in Columbia, specifically Spencer Rattler. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his interactions with your new starting quarterback. Rashad Beard at 1 o'clock. Dan Scott at 1:20. Fight Club at 2:20. We are booked, kids. Stick around. It's going to get weird on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
Steven, it's a shame, but we missed our window this week, so I guess it's just not going to happen.
To him, and that there is a plan to have a conversation with him to see whether or not it might work out for him to return to the organization. Clemson basketball, they pick up a win over Georgia Tech yesterday, 68-65. It moves them into 10th place in the ACC with 1 game to go in the regular season, as they're going to match up against Virginia Tech coming up on Saturday. Nice game for David Collins. He scores at 19 points. He also had 7 rebounds and 4 assists. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sportscenter update, I'm Matt Pauley.
ESPN Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins men's basketball. Every play, every day on ESPN Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. On your computer, smart speaker, and phone on the Odyssey app.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Charlie James, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for your aching knees, hips, shoulder, lower back. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they're right here, ready to help you right now. Call them for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer your best ever with no joint pain holding you back. QC Kinetics in Greenville and Asheville, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. QC Kinetics.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free.
So I was watching some guy play Elden Ring last night because I was just too tired to play. I'm laying in bed watching YouTube and watching this guy play. And he's in a fight with, I don't know what it is yet, but it's this big black, all black entity on a big black, like ox looking thing. And he's running around and he's got it down to 1 hit, that much on the health bar. And he's at this much on that. So basically next hit wins, right? And he's riding these big long circles because he's waiting, because when this thing does an attack, it does one big looping swing and then it raises its staff back up and he runs in and hits it. So he's running in these big circles, and as he runs, he's running along this fence. The thing goes to do his attack. He turns left, and right as he does, out of the right-hand side of the screen, a skeleton with a torch pops up and goes and kills him. He's like screaming obscenities. He's like, I have been fighting this thing for an hour.
I know the frustration.
All right. Not going to spend a ton of time on this because Cory Diaz of the Greenville News is lined up for us in the next segment. The overtime rule. Texter says, just give both teams the blanking ball. It's so easy. 6 exclamation points.
No, it's not, because if each team scores a touchdown, then you keep going, then you keep going, and you keep going. And we've seen games where it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And eventually, I'm not saying that I'm the person saying this, but people get worried that the players get too tired and they get hurt.
That is the argument that a lot of players use for not lengthening the season. And I'm sure we will hear it from some players about not lengthening overtime. But you know what you're also going to hear? You're also going to hear a lot of players from, like, I don't know, hypothetically the Buffalo Bills that go, yeah, this system sucks, man. Might have cost us a Super Bowl. Who knows? Josh Allen goes down there, scores a touchdown. We adapt to the Chiefs offense, even though it's been 4 quarters and we could have done it earlier, but we adapt to the offense. Who knows? Maybe we win that game.
I know how this is going to sound, but I'm having that kind of day. Do you really want to go to the Super Bowl, Buffalo? You haven't really had a good time when you've been there. So that's all I'm saying. I know it's been a while, but you know.
All right. Texter says wrong. It doesn't keep going. It ends after 30 minutes, which is stupid. Right. But in the postseason, you have to have a winner, right? Regular season, you can have a tie. And I don't care about ties. Ties happen. Sometimes 2 teams slug it out and one isn't better. And that's okay. I don't mind a tie.
Ties are lame.
I don't mind a tie. But in postseason play, you have to have a winner, right? It's not an option. In soccer, they go to goal kicks. And that's the only example I can think of.
Maybe we go down to strength of schedule or who scored quicker. I mean, you know, so we don't have a tie at the end of the thing. No, they would just keep playing.
I would accept something if we did a full 15-minute overtime period, right? If we did a full quarter and nobody came out for the better in postseason, then I would accept, let's do a field goal kickoff. Let's put emphasis back on the kickers. You're trying to remove them from the game.
The kind of year we just had with kickers last year.
Yeah, let's make it weird. You start at the 20. And then you back up 5 yards. First one to miss loses.
Yeah, but now you're back to the coin toss because it might as well be with the way the kickers are.
No, that's still a player doing something. Cory Diaz of the Greenville News joins us next on the Rob Brown Show. Rob, Lonzo, and you. This is ESPN Upstate. Somebody just found a picture of Tony Khan front row at a Ring of Honor wrestling match from like 10 years ago.
So how nerdy does he look?
Very. He's in a Bullet Club shirt. I mean, he looks ripped. The dude's in shape, but also if you're a fat billionaire, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Like, there's no excuse to be out of shape when you're a billionaire.
I think if you're a billionaire, whatever shape you want to be in. I mean, you know.
If I had $1 billion, I would want to be alive as long as possible to spend as much of it as I could. If I was a billionaire, if tomorrow somebody gave me $1 billion, you know what the very first hire I make is? A personal chef. Cook me something damn delicious that will help me lose weight all 3 meals every day. If I was a billionaire, I'd buy them a house and a huge kitchen, and their only job is to cook me meals every day.
If I was a billionaire, I'd buy this company, fire some people, and then sell the company. But that's just me. That's just what I would do.
shortest breath just reading the book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors.
Hey, Cory, it's Lonzo, ESPN Upstate.
A condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have
Nothing much. We've got about 30 seconds. Hang on.
irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath,
Uh.
fatigue, or lightheadedness. This is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Mr. Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
We're Trophy Hosts.
To the phone lines we go to welcome in a young man based out of Columbia, South Carolina, but currently on the road on the way to Nash Vegas, Tennessee to watch Don Staley's Lady Gamecocks in the Southeastern Conference Women's Basketball Tournament. We are going to get to that in just a minute as well, but before we talk about any sports, let's introduce the legend himself, Mr. Cory Diaz, joining us here on the show. Big C, welcome back, my guy. Good to have you, pal.
Yeah, I haven't heard from my pals up in Greenville in a while, and honestly, it's made me really sad.
You know what? I accept that. I apologize profusely. Cory, please forgive me. In fairness, though, the last 2 times I've seen Cory Diaz have been in person on the campus, and that's phenomenal, except the only problem is Rob Brown was like 9 cocktails deep at the time, and Cory was working. We haven't really actually gotten to tailgate yet, Cory, and I see a problem there.
Well, man, I guess that's part of the problem of what I do for a living, unfortunately, especially on Saturdays during the fall. I'm working. I can't tailgate, so it would have to be a noon kick, and we just have to have a post-game party.
I'm not mad about it. Cory Diaz from the Greenville News. You can follow him on Twitter at Cory Diaz, CORYDIAZ_TGN. And make sure you are following him because you're not going to find anybody who is more in person for South Carolina athletics. And Cory, you were listening to covering the press conference yesterday, which, as far as I understand it, was effectively a press conference for the transfer players into the Gamecocks football program. And obviously, a number of names that are expected to contribute, but the one everybody wanted to talk about was Spencer Rattler, the new starting quarterback. Before we get into some of his quotes, some of the things that he had to say during that presser, Cory, just what was your overall feeling about the way that he presented himself to the media and the fans, the way that he spoke, just the general feel you got from what we assume is the Gamecocks' new starting QB?
For sure. I would.
Oh, man.
Everyone would agree with this. Is you didn't really know kind of what it was going to be like, and with some of his, the way he's kind of been portrayed in the public limelight, dating all the way back to him being at Pinnacle High School out there in Arizona, but he was very contrite. He was very forthcoming. He didn't dodge any questions, which I thought was something that I was really curious to see. He kind of tackled each and every one of them, good, bad, or indifferent. He faced them head on, and I noticed probably even more of a mature Spencer Rattler than even I was anticipating. I think this is a guy that I think he really has grown and he really has learned from his past. I mean, obviously, as recently as 8 or 9 months ago in Norman, Oklahoma, when he's benched for a freshman that was backing him up, on the depth chart with the Sooners. So I think all those things have really shaped the Spencer Rattler that we're all getting to see and getting to know right now.
One of the things you mentioned there was maturity, right? And I know there have been questions to Spencer, but I think it's the first time he answered. There was the video that surfaced of him from a TV show or a documentary a number of years ago with him kind of getting onto a receiver, and one of his other teammates started saying, "Hey, man, it's always everybody else's fault. It's never you," etc. And that tape made the rounds, and a lot of people started questioning Spencer Rattler's character. As far as I know, he spoke out a little bit about that preconceived notion about him. What did he have to say? What was his answer when he has been faced with questions like that since he's gotten to Columbia?
Sure. Yeah. I think that's, that kind of goes back to, your first question, Rob, is, contrite really is the word that comes to mind for me. I think that, again, he manned up and he faced those questions. His response, to those questions was, that was not who the Spencer Rattler that is here today versus the one that was here, 6 years ago. And we all have to remember that too. I mean, this QB1, reality documentary docuseries that Netflix put out, he was on that show 6 years ago. And I think we all can say the version of ourselves that we see now versus the one that we remember from 6 years ago. I think we're all very different, right? And I think we all need to hold that same candle to Spencer Rattler as well. Again, just from yesterday was the first ever time that I was in the same room with him, and just judging the body language, judging how he really approached and was very thoughtful with all of his responses to questions. Like I said, good, bad, or indifferent. I left impressed. I mean, obviously, this is a business. This is going to be about wins and losses. It's going to be about winning football games, and that's why Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield and the rest of the South Carolina staff. That's why they wanted Spencer to come to South Carolina, was to help them win football games and get them back into the SEC East Division race and challenge Georgia for that top spot. And he is going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He kind of shrugged that off too yesterday when he was asked about if there was any pressure to come in and take over a program that had a really good year and even take them to the next step and potentially challenge for division championships and then conference championships. And he's kind of shrugged it off, and he said no, he actually feels more relaxed and laid back now than he ever has in his collegiate career up to this point. So I'm really interested to see if that indeed is the case, and if too, what are the results from a more relaxed and laid back Spencer Rattler quarterback.
Cory Diaz of the Greenville News joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate, talking about the press conference yesterday from the transfers in, including Spencer Rattler, the next starting quarterback for the Gamecocks, about that pressure, right? Last year, Cory, I think South Carolina ended up with about the record most of us thought we would, but they're certainly, up until the blowout loss to Clemson, it felt like that team had some momentum, had some energy. The fans still seem to be very on board with Shane Beamer, and I think fan expectations have elevated from last year. Was Spencer asked how he's preparing to deal with that pressure? Because I don't know if he's going to have the same pressure on him as he did at Oklahoma, and a lot of people say he did not handle it well. Was there any indication, any inclination from you about whether Spencer Rattler understands the pressure that South Carolina fans have with the expectations being placed on that program and how he's prepared to deal with it?
Yeah, for sure. Look, when you're a five-star recruit coming out of high school, and obviously at the most important position on the field at quarterback, all eyes have been on Spencer Rattler. Again, I would say even dating back, before that QB1 Netflix show came out. He's always had the eyes on him, and obviously when you sign with Oklahoma out of high school, which is one of the perennial powers in this sport that we all love. You want to talk about eyes and pressure and expectations to go out and literally win every single game that you play and win a national championship every single year. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you, Rob. I don't think the level of pressure here in Columbia at South Carolina is anywhere close to what Spencer Rattler just lived through the last 3 years in Norman, Oklahoma. I think those are two completely different animals. And honestly, I honestly think that's why he feels in a much more relaxed and comfortable situation here with Shane Beamer, a coach that he established a very tight and close relationship with out in Norman before Shane was hired here. 2020. Again, one of the big reasons why he wanted to come and be a part of this, because he knew the type of guy that Shane Beamer is and the type of coach that he is. And also, too, just the level of expectation that Shane not only holds his football players to, but just himself and as well as his staff. And so, man, again, I'm going to be honest with you. I really, truly, honestly don't think Spencer feels any pressure here right now. I think this was a business decision, i.e., from a standpoint of, it's likely he'll be here 1 year and then he'll be gone for the NFL draft after next football season. But also, too, this is a place where he feels like, we can go there and we can do some things and we can drum up the type of enthusiasm and excitement and support for a football program that, obviously for several years now, it's kind of been not to that level. And he can certainly just himself can elevate the level of play within South Carolina's football program to be an 8 and 9 win team.
Cory Diaz from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So obviously we are right up on top of spring practice. Clemson started theirs yesterday. South Carolina's coming down the pipe. What do you expect to see out of Spencer Rattler in Shane Beamer's offense? I mean, the good news is, like you mentioned, they've built a relationship. He knows Shane Beamer from their time together in Norman, but Beamer's evolved. Beamer's developed a little bit. Spencer, not the greatest year last year out there in Norman, got replaced by Caleb Williams down the line. So what do you think the expectations from Shane Beamer are on Spencer Rattler, and what do you think what do you think are fair expectations for Gamecocks fans to have for Spencer Rattler this year?
I think for Shane, looking at Spencer, I think one of the big things is, this is a guy that's a bridge gapper. He's a guy that's going to come in. He's been a little over a month, here in town, and he's a guy that the rest of the quarterbacks in that room are just going to gain almost an insurmountable and an immeasurable amount of knowledge from just sitting right beside Spencer in that room, breaking down film on opponents and how he approaches the game and things of that nature. So I think for Shane, that's one of the big things I think he's wanting out of Spencer Rattler is to get our younger quarterbacks ready to play the game to a near championship caliber level or at a championship caliber level. Because, let's be honest. What we saw last year at the quarterback position in South Carolina was nowhere near championship level play. And so that's one thing I think Shane is going to be expecting out of Spencer is to help those guys. And then two, for himself personally and his performance, a former 5-star high school recruit. According to the 24/7 Sports Composite, this is he's the highest rated quarterback. When he was rated in high school, he's the highest ever quarterback to sign and come to play at South Carolina. Those are the expectations from Shane to Spencer. You're a 5-star quarterback. I need you to go out there and I need you to perform like it. Now, do they go out there and win 11 games and maybe that one loss beat Georgia? That probably is unrealistic due to, a quarterback alone just cannot win you a game. You got to have somebody around him to make plays. They're gonna have to be able to run the football in order to help Spencer. He's not gonna be able to throw the ball 60 times a game, and South Carolina's gonna win. I actually think that would be a recipe for losses more than wins. And then I think for just for the fans, I kind of would start there, right? If we get in these first 2 or 3 weeks of the football season next year, and you're looking at the box score at the end of the games, and Spencer's throwing 53 passes, that's not going to be sustainable. That's not what you want. Although he has all the arm talent and the arm strength in the world, you still do not want him throwing the ball more than 40 times a game. And you got to have those guys around him to help him out and make those plays. But from a field general standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, I think fans, and as well as ourselves with the media, he'll be held accountable for his leadership role within this team and how he gets his guys in the right place and how he leads in those really tight moments and also in those really big, especially SEC football stadium, in those big atmospheres and not getting too up, too down. And like we mentioned before in this interview, if he's coming at someone on the sideline, then we kind of need to know why that was, like he has to be held accountable for that as well. So man, this journey hasn't even started yet, and it already feels like it's lasted 3.5 years. So but I'm still excited, man. This is going to be. Look, I think this is a year for South Carolina football that I think could alter the trajectory of where Shane Beamer can get this football program for the next 5, 7, 8, 9 years. If it goes the way that it potentially could.
Cory Diaz, Greenville News, joining us here on the show. Now, Cory's on the road over to Nash Vegas, Tennessee, site of the SEC Women's Basketball Championship Tournament. It will return to Greenville the next 3 years, but this year it's over in Music City. Look, Cory, I don't think it's going out on any thin branch to say the Dawn Staley's team is going to be the prohibitive and heavy favorite in this tournament. You got a chance to sit down yesterday and talk to her and the staff a little bit as they got ready for this. What is the mood of Dawn Staley's team right now? I mean, is there a quiet confidence based on what's happened in the regular season this year? They've had some close calls. Is there a confidence for this team going into the women's basketball tournament?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I think a lot of people who, you watch this team play this year, I mean, just kind of what the personality of this team is. Leah Boston, needs no introduction. I think she's the front runner for National Player of the Year, also potentially, the National Defensive Player of the Year as well. I mean, she's every time she steps on the court, she's the best player out there, and it's not close. But you also got, Destiny Henderson at point guard, who I would say in the last 3.5 weeks of the regular season has kind of been the catalyst, for this team to maintain and sustain, just the level of confidence and success that it's had, because she has really elevated her play down the stretch. And, for her specifically, she's a senior, and she's trying to be drafted as high as possible in the WNBA draft, and, come April. And so for her, having a big postseason would do wonders for her. And, you got Zaya Cook, you got Bria Bill, who's also a big name from when you talk about best defensive players, in the country. Look, Dawn Staley's built this thing, right? And this team and this program has really adopted their coach's personality. I don't think Dawn is losing any sleep. I don't think she lost any sleep last night. I don't think she's losing any sleep tonight. I think Dawn is probably the most confident person in any arena that she stands in. And I think these next potentially 3 days to an SEC tournament championship on Sunday, I continue to think that she would be the most confident person in that arena. So, yeah, man, prohibitive favorites, heavy favorites. LSU's been playing well here the last month or so of the year. So I could see a South Carolina LSU championship game on Sunday afternoon. And that game in Baton Rouge earlier this year was closer than probably the school board indicated. So that could be a heavyweight fight, on Sunday to decide this thing.
Cory Diaz covers South Carolina athletics for the Greenville News. You can follow him on Twitter at Cory Diaz, CORYDIAZ _TGN. It is a must follow for Gamecocks fans. Cory, my man, great to have you on, buddy. Safe travels over to Nash Vegas. We'll be keeping an eye on your Twitter feed from afar, and we'll talk to you when you get back, big guy.
Sounds good. Yeah, I just want to say, if any listeners out there is interested in women's college basketball and this SEC tournament, it's time to jump on board. We're going to have a lot of really good content coming out over the next 3 or 4 days, and so really excited about that. Really excited about the opportunity to provide that coverage for everyone. So appreciate you, Rob, for having me on, man, and I know we'll talk soon. Always.
That is Cory Diaz of the Greenville News. Again, follow him on Twitter, CORYDIAZ _TGN. You're going to get all the SEC women's basketball tournament coverage you could ask for, and probably a little more, because Cory is good at his job. Champions hang out together. That's what happens. Back after this to wrap up Hour 1 on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
find while it's on 69. Sunny, partly sunny, 78. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Espn, ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 78.
March is here, and so is the madness. It's March Madness. Now with the ESPN Upstate is your home for exclusive Westwood One coverage for the journey to the tourney. It's March Madness. 68 teams with hopes of becoming the national basketball champion. Plus, the women's Final Four. Here in all, March.
Just like to thank all you guys, Keegan and Miss Lisa, for making me jealous, knowing that you guys are all getting to hang out outside and enjoy the weather.
Send Rashad an invite, would you please?
Yeah.
Also, Chris sent an email saying there's free food
I
downstairs.
saw that.
I don't know if you'll
and
have time or not.
I was going to say, we don't have time to go get it until the first break of the next hour. I hope it's not all gone by then.
There were a time where I would say it was gone within a minute or so.
Yeah,
of
but
it
I don't think
being-
enough people are downstairs to.
No, we don't sell commission products. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for financial.
So you got 3.5 minutes. I don't think you can get down there and back up in 3.5.
Why would you put it that way? Why would you hit me with, I don't think you can
Well,
do something?
you're discussing now instead of just pushing your chair back and
I know.
going. So it's too
Oh, no,
late.
I don't think I can make it either.
Yeah.
That's why.
Priority Heating and Air HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family or business comfortable and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or find them online, PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Here's an important message from Estrogen. A critical new FDA study proves that widely used non-contact thermometers are not accurate and have high possibilities for false negative readings. They also have inaccurate information on their labels regarding accuracy.
I heard him blip in. You know what that means?
And non-contact
You know what that means? Finally,
Rashad, can you hear us?
he's
Say
putting
something
it.
to us so we can see if we got your audio.
Oh, come on. I don't hear anything. You sure you're on, dude?
Yeah, his mic's on.
How do I hear him blip in and then I can't hear him? That's
Hang on, let me see. I wonder if I need to. Oh, you know what? Let me put him in the stream. All right, try now, Rashad.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
There it
yeah,
is.
that's
You
what it
gotta
is.
put him in the
Okay.
stream.
Okay.
All right, big dog. We got a 4-minute segment. Quick break, and then we'll get right back to you.
I'm here.
Okay. So you got to put him in the stream to be able to hear him.
But
Makes
I-
sense now.
I don't over there though.
Really? Yeah, you do. You have to.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
you
I
have
did.
to.
Okay. All right. Remember my struggles today. So I'm not, maybe I have Batman on the brain. That could be what it
Maybe it
is. It might be it. Or it's all the talk of it being 75 degrees outside. It could be a combination of a lot of things. Or I could just be old.
Join Odyssey. And together, each of us doing one thing makes a greener tomorrow. What's your one thing?
So who knows? Now maybe if we get that Kevin Nash nod, which we might, he's willing to jump up on here. That would be pretty sweet. Can't be FTR though, because I guess they just retired. So they retired since apparently they're not good at tag team wrestling. So
I saw that tweet. Was
yeah.
hilarious.
So, well, I guess we could get them on and ask them about retirement. Thanks for the correction, Keegan. That's very important. It's now 78 degrees, according to Keegan.
Thank you, Keegan, for your weather updates.
Staying accurate. Appreciate it. Now, can you do that in a creepy weather voice? It's now 78 degrees.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Coming up in the very next segment, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to join us. Been a lot coming out of the microphones of Fitterer and Rule up at the Combine. We're going to get Rashad's thoughts on what both of those fellas had to say here in just a minute. Also, just after Rashad, Dan Scott, the voice of the Furman Paladins, is going to join us on the radio broadcast. Furman, the 2 seed going into the SoCon tournament. We're going to be joined by Dan Scott coming up to talk a little Furman basketball. After that, I don't make a promise. We might do a little Thursday faces and heels action. We got time. Then
No. We're not going to.
Plenty of time.
No, we don't.
We are, as they say, in the window.
We can't squeeze that in there.
In the window. 220 Fight Club. All the things you need to know about. Big week in Fight Club this week. Huge purchase by Tony Khan and AEW we found out about last night. We got a massive MMA. Finally, a rivalry that I actually believe is true. Talk about that and more in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. All right. We can bring Rashad in now.
We can do that.
We did
What's
that.
up, guys?
Shad, what's up, fella?
I'm hanging in there.
That's all you can do sometimes, ain't it?
Absolutely.
Are we in a better mood than last week, Rashad? Or are we still on the on the bottom level?
Nah, we still on the bottom floor, man. It's it's a mess right now still. But you know, hopefully with every day closer to the draft, we get some more answers.
Can you pop that cue up a little bit so I can hear him, or is it maxed out?
It's nearly maxed out.
Okay. Shad,
Yep.
where can I get a PNP t-shirt to rock, my guy?
We got a link. We sell through Teespring, so I have to give you a link.
I like it. Send me a link. The only way I will wear those colors is for you, my dog.
I mean, it's pretty neutral color. I mean, it's
neutral.
It's not.
The only way I will rock those colors is for my guy Rashad. That's it.
We need
come in XL. You can say, what a businessman, right? To tell you where the link is to buy them. I love it.
I don't know. Should you wear the T-shirt of the movie you're going to see? I was thinking about that. I made sure I didn't wear the Batman today. I got Nightwing going on, but I didn't want to wear Batman though. How many Batman T-shirts do you think we see tonight?
Most of them.
Yeah, probably.
All right, let's get it. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls. Great to have you along for the ride here on the big show. To the phone lines we go. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, and you know what that means. We kick it on up to the Queen City and welcome in one half of the Panther Nation podcast. He alongside with our boy David Rhodes, make up the tag team that takes on Carolina football and wins championships weekly doing it. Rashad Beard joining us here on the show and on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, and by searching the Rob Brown Show on YouTube, you can actually see Rashad rocking the PNP t-shirt today, which Lonzo and I are going to pick up later on. Rashad, what's up, big fella?
What's up, man? I like that intro, the championship thing. I like that. I'm going to steal that. I'm about to borrow that.
It's all yours, fella. It's all yours. Listen, when you're on top of the game, you do what you want. That's all Ric Flair ever taught me in my life. You know what I mean?
Facts. Love Ric Flair.
Rashad Beard here on the radio broadcast. And Shad, obviously, we can't start with anything other than Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule on the mic at the Combine. We got a lot more out of Fitz, at least about the QB position. So I'll start with Matt Rule. And the one quote that caught me, Rashad, was Matt Rule said, "I don't feel any additional pressure outside of making this team great," end quote. Do you believe that for a second?
Nah, he feels it. He knows what's up, man. All the outside noise, the fans. I'm sure him and Tepper have had a conversation. So he knows the pressure's up, man. He's got to win. Year 3, doing what he's been doing over the past 2 years is unacceptable. So he's got to win, and he knows that. It's obvious. They know they have to win. It's
got to be, right? Like we and Lonzo and I talked the other day about what exactly does Matt Rule need to accomplish, right? Lonzo is all but convinced that unless they just get blanked in the W department, Matt Rule might get another year just because you can blame where the franchise is on him and let him go down one more year to completely reboot. I've said, I don't know that they need to make the playoffs, but they need to be in the hunt in week 17, right? If it's week 17 and the Panthers are eligible for a playoff spot, I think he's okay. Is there a line, Rashad? Do you think that, or is this kind of a moving target based on what the year looks like?
Yeah, no, it depends a lot on what they're going to do with the quarterback position, right? If there's a young quarterback and he's showing promise, then sure. But I really feel like playoffs, right? We have to make the playoffs or get, like you said, close to it. Anything other than that, man, from a fan base perspective, is unacceptable. But again, I think a lot hinges on what we do at quarterback. If you get a veteran quarterback, the leash is a little bit shorter. You get a young guy in there, the leash is going to be longer, as long as they're showing promise. So it depends on what they do with the quarterback position.
So we talked a little bit about that, right? Because I said, if they end up drafting a quarterback, whether it's Malik or Matt Corral or Kenny Pickett or whoever, if they draft a quarterback and that quarterback shows good progression, right? Better than Justin Fields did, but maybe it doesn't have to go to the playoffs, but shows progression in year 1. I think Matt Rule can leverage that a little bit into, hey, look, I know we didn't do what we wanted to do this year, but we got this young guy, he's growing. If they draft a quarterback and he fails, he was gone anyway. It didn't ultimately matter, which is kind of what pushed me in the position of they might go QB, but now reports out of Charlotte are that they are dead set on going offensive lineman. Is that a bit of a smokescreen from the Panthers to try to keep the Saints or the Steelers or whoever else is looking for a QB from jumping up to 5 and grabbing the guy they got their eyes on?
I think it's a bit of a smokescreen. I'm not sure, to be honest, though. I have no idea. You hear what Scott Fitterer said yesterday. You know, if there's a game-changing talent there, a franchise guy you can put there for the next 10 years, then they're going to take him at 6. And he specifically mentioned, offensive tackle and quarterback. I don't know where they're going to – I don't know how their board looks, so it's a bit difficult for me to speculate at the moment. Obviously, things can shift depending on the combine performances and pro days and whatnot. But I think it's a bit of a smokescreen right now. I wouldn't take anything that anybody says right now as gospel. I think you just got to kind of go with the punches and see what happens. But I'm all on board. If they get a quarterback, and they feel like he's the guy that for the next 10 years, especially with McAdoo's blessing, we talked about his knowledge and accuracy for selecting those guys, or at least projecting those guys. I think you got to listen to him. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I've seen the pictures of Evan Neal floating around on Twitter, looking real good. 337. So listen, I don't know, man. I don't know where they're gonna go.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But of course, the big deal is to find them on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed, all that good stuff. to Panther Nation podcast. Speaking of Scott Fitterer, he got on the mic too. And what caught my attention there, they asked him about the quarterback position, right? And he said, look, Sam Darnold knows he did not play the way he wanted to play, the way we wanted him to play last year. And he had a lot of things to say about Sam Darnold, almost kind of making it sound like Darnold might get the opportunity to go one more time with higher expectations. But then he ended by saying the job is open, right? They're open to re-signing Cam. They're open to Darnold starting. They're open to having somebody else come in. And it was kind of interesting because it was one of those you had me in the first half kind of moments because it sounded like he was building up Sam Darnold, but then he immediately said, but the job's open and it could go to anybody. That to me kind of felt like he was waffling a little bit, like maybe there's not a decision made.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do here, man, because you talk about the quarterback position and you look at what we had in Teddy Bridgewater last year. And I'd argue that Teddy Bridgewater had a better season than Sam Darnold did this season. But yet they're willing to be patient with Sam Darnold, right? So I don't understand that. They have this mindset of the quarterback is the most valuable or the most important position on the field. And you have to do whatever it takes to get said quarterback. That sounds nice until you trade away your second and third round picks or whatever we traded for Sam Darnold and it doesn't work out. It sounds nice until you start leveraging all these future assets to get a quarterback that doesn't pan out. I'm all for it if you're getting an elite proven guy or at least one that you feel good about in the draft. Like taking one in the draft makes a lot more sense if you're going to take a risk. But when you're talking about trading assets to get a guy, a proven guy that hasn't done anything like Sam Darnold, and you just taking a risk, it doesn't make sense. So it sounds nice that what you're saying, like I completely agree. It sounds nice that, you give Sam Darnold another year, but we know what Sam is. We know what he is. So let's go out and if you're going to be aggressive, go out and get a real guy. Go out and get a real quarterback, somebody that's proven, somebody that's available, and somebody that is going to be a good quarterback. Or just draft one. It's an easy answer. I don't keep going back to the well with Sam Darnold. He's done. We know what he is. So either give him a chance and build around him, or let's move on.
So here's the thought that I laid out, and feel free to take it how you want, Rashad. I talked earlier in the week. I said, if you're Matt Rule, you got two ways to go. Number one is draft a rookie and roll the dice, right? And I think that's honestly, I think that's the way. If I'm Matt Rule, I go because either it works out and great. It doesn't work out, but he shows a lot of progress, and maybe you can leverage another year or two out of this job, or it doesn't work at all, in which case the odds were stacked against you from the beginning and you took the best shot. But if you decide to go veteran, right? I've said a number of times I'm looking for an established veteran, a guy who's got a history of winning, and a guy that's familiar with Matt Rule, and that's not going to break the bank, right? Because if you're going to go looking for a Kirk Cousins, it's going to cost you that 6th overall or a good chunk of the later round capital that's already like gold for the Panthers as it is. Am I crazy for calling Cam and making Cam Newton my starter next year?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. They mentioned Cam yesterday during the press conference, and it was said that, to me, it seemed like Cam was the ultimate last resort. Like, if we can't figure out this guy, or we can't pick up somebody for agency, we can't make it work with Sam Darnold, then we'll call Cam and go with the punches from there. It seemed like Cam was the absolute last option, and I think I would roll with Cam too. I mean, if Cam, listen, he didn't have a full offseason. It wasn't the greatest performance the last couple games with the Panthers. Obviously, we'd like to see a better performance from him as well. He didn't perform well. And I think a full offseason would help him and everybody else with the chemistry and whatnot. But again, man, it's a tough scenario, man. It's a really tough scenario with this quarterback position because, again, you brought up Kirk Cousins, right? We know what we're going to get in Kirk. Kirk is a winner. Like, he's a good player. It's like if you're going to go out there and get a quarterback, go get a winner. Do what it takes to get a winner. Just like with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was average until he got surrounded with all this talent out in LA, and nobody cares about what they gave up to get him because they won. They won the Super Bowl. They won the ultimate prize. So if you're going to go get a quarterback, go get the right guy. Don't play around with all these guys that have been proven to be average or below average. Or just like you said, go with the draft, man.
We're talking to Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Was there anything else about those comments? I didn't get to listen to the entire presser. with Scott Fitterer. But I'll tell you, and listen, I don't hold this entirely against these guys, Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer, because the combine is smokescreen season, right? Like this is the point in time where you're playing the cards close to the vest, but I don't, and maybe I'm being dramatic because I expect better from the Panthers. I want better from the Panthers because, as I've said multiple times, I make money when the Panthers are good, and I like making money. It sounded to me, even when every team's throwing up smoke screens right now, I heard two guys that didn't sound like they had a plan, Rashad, and that makes me nervous.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. That's why when you asked me before we started this, how do you feel? I'm like, dude, I feel the same. I got no answers. There is no plan. It's there is no sense of direction with the Carolina Panthers. It's like we're taking it day by day, and whatever presents itself to us, that's what we're gonna take. Like that's how they're playing the cards with a reactive mindset, not a proactive mindset. And that's why I have a problem with what's going on right now. Everything is just waiting for something to occur. And I don't like it. I don't agree with anything. And we talk about smoke screens, and we talk about, as it relates to the draft. But the biggest news yesterday that came from the Carolina Panthers from the Scott Fitterer's press conference was the fact that Hassan Reddick's going to be allowed to test the market. Like, that's huge. You cannot replace this guy. Has had back-to-back 10+ sack seasons. Like, there's a small list of guys that have done that over the past 2 years. And when you let a guy like that walk, that just tells me everything. They are all in on fixing the offensive line. And I said this on our stream the other day. We always, from a Panthers standpoint, we always put all of our resources on fixing the biggest problem. We know we have an offensive line problem, so we're going to throw everything at the offensive line. Meanwhile, we're going to let everything else, fall by the wayside, meaning the pass rush, meaning stopping the run. All that stuff goes by the wayside while we focus all of our attention on fixing the offensive line. And that's not the right. You have to have a balanced mindset. So again, everybody's going to be talking about, where's the pass rush next year? Like, because you let a 10-sack guy walk out the building, you're not even going to franchise tag him. You're just going to allow him to test the market, which is just completely crazy to me. But I digress. That was the biggest thing I got from the press conference yesterday. Everything else aside. I
don't think that's digressing at all. I think that's the biggest story. In fact, I had it on the list of questions to get to today.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I sent out the tweet after I read that yesterday, and the only reaction I had is, are the Panthers trying to tick off the fans? Like, are they trying to make y'all mad? Are they trying to get y'all to jump ship? Are they angling to beat the Jaguars to be the team to move to London? Because when I see this, I'm going, all right, so maybe the baddest dude on your defense, one of the few that's putting up consistent, almost Pro Bowl style numbers on a game-by-game basis, when the defense was good, Rashad, but you got to admit, spotty in places last year, right? You have the power to go, no, you're a Panther next year. You don't have to like it, but you're a Panther for another year, and you're just letting him take phone calls. Like, that's
crazy.
That's an average dude like me getting the hot girl and being like, no, if you want to take calls from the starting quarterback of the football team, I'm cool with that. Let me know if you're still interested. Like, no, dude, you fight for this. And it's like they're not. And that's kind of what got my goat a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, dude, it made a lot of the fan base really mad. It made a lot of us angry because, again, the last time we had a double-digit sack guy was Julius Peppers, a 37-year-old Julius Peppers back in 2017. That was the last time we had a double-digit sack guy. And now you're just going to allow him to walk out the building and field offers knowing you're going to get outbid, because there's no way we're going to be able to compete once he hits the open market. So you're just essentially letting him walk while you have a tool called the franchise tag to say, hey, I'm going to tag you. You're not going anywhere. So it just doesn't make any sense to me, but I understand what they're going to do because I've been a Panthers fan for a long time. They're going to take that money and invest it into the offensive line, and then watch what happens to the pass rush next year. That's what we do.
Rashad Beard, the host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. So aside from throwing the tag on Reddick, and aside from sound like you have a plan, right? What else could the Panthers do right now to get Rashad to come on board next week and have a smile back on the face?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything they can do right now. I think the thing that would get me excited is starting to see some trades, right? I don't know when the exact timing of that occurs. I know you can't trade right now, but I need to see some trades to get us some assets, right? Some draft capital, because The only way we're going to build this team is through the draft. You can't go out there. We're not going to have the ability to attract big name free agents. It's not going to happen. Like Brandon Scherf, everybody keeps throwing his name out there. He's not coming here. Nobody's going to voluntarily sign up to come here and while Sam Darnold's your quarterback. That's not going to happen. There's no excitement around this team for a free agent to want to voluntarily come here unless it's a lower level guy looking to prove himself, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that, but you're taking a risk, right? So I think I need to see some trades so we can get some more day 2 capital, some second round picks, some third round picks. That's going to get me excited. Until that happens, there's really nothing else they can do. Maybe just seeing them tied to some interviews to some guys that I like for the combine. That's really it, man. That's the nature of it.
Every Thursday at 1:00, we do an interview/therapy session with Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. Again, follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but make sure you're subscribed to their YouTube channel. Search Panther Nation podcast and make sure that you get yourself subscribed. They do great stuff every single week. Rashad, my man, appreciate it, big dog. Thanks for joining us as always, fella.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Love being on the show every single week. It's always fun, and I appreciate the therapy sessions.
Send me the link for the t-shirt, big dog.
Will do.
There you go. That's Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. When we come back, Dan Scott is the voice of the Furman Paladins. The Paladins, the number 2 seed in the SoCon tournament. We'll talk a little Furman basketball when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
All right. Obviously, we're going to have to work on volume. So I had to bring you down to bring you closer to him.
I bumped his volume up in StreamYard, and I heard it go up in my ear.
It didn't go up on the board, though.
Really?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I heard it go
So
up.
it might be an engineering thing.
Okay.
So it's yeah, I had it maxed. Well, I can tell you when looking at what was recorded, level didn't go up on that either.
Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sportscenter update, I'm Matt Pauley.
ESPN Upstate. Open it up. Westwood One is your GPS on the road to the Final Four. Your NCAA March Madness on one Upstate radio station.
ESPN Upstate.
I'm Michael Jenkins, helping you beat the books with BetQL. Let's head to the Big Sky. And the final week of the regular season, Montana has been lights out at home this year, and the Grizz are coming off an emotional win against their biggest rival, Montana State, where they clinched a first-round bye in the conference tournament. But tonight, they welcome Northern Colorado, the best shooting team in the Big Sky, who have beaten the Grizz in 5 of the last 6 meetings and covered the number all 6 times.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything that's under your control. At Granger, we're here for you with experienced branch staff at over 250 locations.
Apologize for not talking to the stream. I was working on something, and sometimes I forget that I need to talk. The wheels in the brain are not working today, so trying to figure out why I can't get some volume on something.
You got Dan's number?
Yeah.
Do you want a taco bowl or a Raj Trufa? I don't know what that is.
Well, since you brought me food, I'll take whichever one you.
I don't care.
Because I was going to eat a sub, but I can eat that later. No, you pick.
Put them right hand.
Give me the thing that you can't pronounce.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to fix that.
Sorry, do you have Dan's number?
Yeah, I got it. Just have him call them.
Hold on, stream. I'm about to make you motion sick. Oh, that's too far. Okay.
Whoa!
It just said camera shift. Yes, I.
Whoa! I'm probably gonna regret this. It's probably gonna be like sushi or something.
No, it's all cooked.
You don't know? You ain't opened it yet. I know I need to call him. I just want to see. Kind of a small bowl. It came with guac. I
You a
don't know what that
guacamole guy?
is.
I'm not a guacamole guy.
You don't like guac?
I don't. Like if it's on a taco, I'll eat it. I'm not gonna turn it down. But I don't like get guacamole as a dip.
That's weird.
I'm weird.
But to each his own.
Oh, 2 for 2.
Hello? Hello? Hello, Dan. How are you today? Good. I am not unwell either. That means both of us are not unwell. I can't say the same about Rob, though. So, you know.
Rob's got a taco bowl. He's perfect.
Yeah, Rob's got a taco bowl. He's happy. There was free food down in the lobby. So, yeah. All right. We got 30 seconds. Hang on.
3 for 3. All righty.
It's going to smell better in here than it did in the office earlier.
100%.
Because you were like eating tuna, I think.
I was. It was delicious.
That's what I figured.
You know, I consider Lonzo a legend. I myself am working on becoming legendary. That is why we have on a legend to learn how this job is done. From the voice of the Furman Paladins, he is the great Dan Scott, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show to talk a little shooty hoops. Dano, welcome back, guy.
Rob, thanks for the invitation. How are you, my friend?
I'm living the dream, buddy. It is the meat and potatoes of college basketball season. The NBA has been exceptionally good. We are, I was going to say close to baseball, but that's just a lie, Dan Scott, and I refuse to do that on the air. But we got SoCon tournament basketball coming up very, very shortly. You are about to start earning that paycheck, my friend. How are you?
I'm excited. I love, like I think most sports fans do, conference tournament weekends, multiple weekends, and the NCAA tournament that's about to unfold. And we're going to see how the storyline plays out. Furman trying to get into the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1980, and this league, as it proved again this year. While I don't think there's any question that Chattanooga and Furman are the two top teams in the league, especially the second half of the season, as some teams got their bearings about them, it got to be that thing that we always expect to see where anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And that's what makes this tournament so exciting.
Dan Scott, voice of the Paladins, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. I want to talk about the tournament itself, Dan. I want to talk about the games for the Paladins leading up to the tournament. But I read either yesterday or the day before, there was a very interesting little article getting set up for March, and it was a mid-major conferences preview. And ESPN had a glowing report of the Southern Conference and the teams within it. Furman obviously mentioned and included in that. Yet the conversation seems to be that the winner of this tournament goes on to the dance and everybody stays at home. Do you think there's enough quality basketball in here that this should be better than a one-bid conference?
Should it be? Yes. Will it be? Probably not, unfortunately. And that's just because of the mistaken perception around the country. I mean, look, we know that the Power 5 conferences, or in basketball, I guess they count a Power 6, those conferences are going to litter the field. We know that. But when you start talking about mid-major leagues, Southern Conference is I think the number 9 rated conference in all of America, and that's behind the first 6 being considered the power guys. So when you take a look at that, logic would seem to indicate that it should be a multi-bid league. The thing that throws a wet blanket on that fire is you go back about 2 seasons, maybe it was 3 years ago, when the Southern Conference had the highest RPI that it had ever had, and yet only got 1 bid. And it was the only time since the tournament expanded to 64 teams back in 1985, I believe, that a conference with an RPI that high did not get at least 2 teams in. So there's a presupposition about the Southern Conference that, I don't know what it's going to take to change it. You hope that scheduling the big guys who will play you like Furman did and like many other teams in the conference did in the preseason or the non-conference portion of the schedule, and then beating some of those teams will have an effect down the road. Awfully successful doing that this year, but if we get 2 teams in, I'll be shocked.
Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins, here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. All right, let's talk about the lead up to this Southern Conference tournament, because obviously if Furman wants to go dancing, they're going to have to win this thing. At least that's the common perception, Dan. Down the stretch, dating back to January 19th, this team has been a little bit streaky. They had I believe a 5 or 6 game win streak put together. Then they lost 3, then they won 2, then they lost 1, and then they beat the Citadel last Saturday to wrap up the regular season. What is your thought on why this team has kind of seemed to be streaky? Is it just the way the schedule set up? Were there some massive injuries or minor injuries, I guess, that people have overlooked? Why was this team so streaky down the stretch?
Well, first of all, I think we have to go back to what we talked about a minute ago. If you look at the teams they played from that date that you picked, it was not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. But the common denominator in the wins has been incredible defense. The common denominator in the losses has been lackluster defense. And it really gets to be that simple. When this team defends like it's capable of defending, then incredible things happen on both ends of the floor. The offense comes because they get rebounds, they get out in transition, and they do all those other things that make offense easy. When they don't defend, they don't rebound, then obviously you're asking for trouble. And if you look at that 5-game winning streak that you're talking about, I think they held their opponents on average in that 5 games to 54 points. And so you can see the difference as you look at those 3 losses. Now, those were close games, could have won all 3 of those games, but they didn't defend with the same intensity that they did in that 5-game streak. They didn't defend like they did against the Citadel in the regular season finale. So Bob Ritchie's talked about it on our pregame interviews. He's talked about it on our postgame interviews. He'll be talking about it all the way through this tournament. If this team defends, it has a chance to be elite.
Talk to me about the mentality of that, right? You just mentioned it. In the 5-game winning streak, the most points given up was against the Citadel. They gave up 83 back on February 2nd, but the other scores in those wins were 50, 50, 64, 60, 60, 54, and I think 69 was the one. And by the way, in the game where they gave up 83, they also crossed the century mark and scored 102. So the offense was clicking just fine enough to cover. What is the difference in the Furman team that is holding teams to 50 and the Furman team that's given up 75, 80?
Well, sometimes the other team has something to do with it. I mean, when you look at, Chattanooga and the depth and experience that they have and the way Samford is playing right now, the second half of the season, especially at home where they won, I think, 7 games in a row and finished the season winning either 7 of 8 or 8 out of 9 total. you get locked in this mentality as a member of the media or even sometimes as a coach, and you forget to tip your cap to the other team. But having said that, the difference is little things, Rob, like how aggressively are you willing to fight through a screen? If the game plan calls for switching instead of fighting through, how quick does the communication come? How quick and how smooth does the switch handle? When a big man comes out to hedge, as you'll see Jalen Slauson do, or maybe Garrett Heen when he's in the game, how quickly can he get out to hedge on the guard and then get back and find his man? What's that rotation like? It's so many little things. And then, as Ron Smith used to tell me, the Furman legend who worked with me for my first 5 years on the broadcast, it's effort. Defense and rebounding are effort. Those are the two things that should travel with you no matter where you go. You're not going to shoot the ball well every single night out, but you should always be able to defend and you should always rebound because those are effort and will. And I think that's the message that Bob's been trying to drill into his team. And when they have responded to that, you have seen them play some great basketball.
That's one thing I found interesting. I was looking over the box score of the final win of the season, a 94-59 clobbering of not a bad little Citadel team, but what stood out to me, and it jumped to Furman playing good defense here. Furman shot almost 49% from the floor, 42% from behind the arc of 17-35. But then I look at the Citadel, 33% from the floor, 30% from behind the arc. Dan Scott, you keep a team shooting under 1/3 from the field, you got a pretty good chance of winning some basketball games.
Yeah, and if you look at the games that you're talking about in that stretch of being streaky where they did not perform as well, look at the other team's shooting percentages. There were times when the opposition shot near, or I think once or twice even above 50% for the game. So it gets back to effort, it gets back to will, it gets back to communication, it gets back to all of those things. When this team is on and you shoot the ball well, you can cover a lot of sins. There's no question about that. How do you win games when the shots aren't falling at a 42% clip? Because 48% of Furman shots are going to come from three. And another 45 or 46% are going to come in the paint. So you know where the offensive shots are going to come from. But what if they're not falling? How do you win games? You got to win them with defense. You got to win them with rebound. You got to win them with the effort categories.
Dan Scott joining us here on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate. So we turn our attention towards the weekend as the SoCon tournament is set to go. Furman waiting on their opponent. They will take on the winner of Mercer versus Western Carolina. That game is tomorrow at 7:30. Furman will play at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Dan, what can you tell us? Do you think there's a preferred opponent between the two, Mercer or Western Carolina? And knowing that they are set up here with the winner of Game 6, which is Samford versus Uncg, does Furman look like they have a relatively favorable path to the SoCon tournament finals?
I don't know if anybody has what you'd call a favorable path, except Chattanooga, the number 1 seed, in theory should have the easiest path, and Furman as the 2 seed should have the second easiest path. But if you look at the Uncg Samford game, whoever wins that, both of those teams have been playing great basketball, and Samford just beat Furman. But to get there, obviously, as you said, you got to win the first one in the quarterfinal round on Saturday. Preferred opponent, I mean, logic says you'd like to play the worst team, and record-wise, that's Western Carolina. Furman has swept both of these teams. They've won all 4 games handily. The unknown factor with Mercer is going to be, A, whether Neftali Alvarez plays, and B, if he does, how effective is he? He did not play in either of the 2 games against Furman because of a foot injury. He came back, played a couple of games, then set out again, and I don't know what his status is heading into their game tomorrow. He can be a bit of a difference maker. Now, is he a 25 or 30-point difference maker in the grand scheme of things? I don't know, but I know Mercer's a much better team with him in the lineup. So that's kind of one of the storylines you want to follow in that first set of games tomorrow is, does Alvarez play for Mercer? And if he does, what kind of difference can he make for them? I think Furman, without question, should win the game against whoever they play if Furman plays the way that we know they can play. If they don't, well, history will tell you that you can be one and done up there very, very quickly. But I expect the Paladins to win on Saturday and set up a really, really good semifinal match against whoever that is on Sunday. I think they're going to get all the way to the championship game. I think you're going to see Furman Chattanooga Part 3 on Monday night on national television in the championship game, but they're going to have to work to get there.
Furman, of course, again, Saturday evening, 6 p.m., will take on the winner of Mercer and Western Carolina. Should they win that, they will play again on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. They win that game against either Samford or Uncg. Then the championship game, as Dan mentioned, will be Monday at 7 p.m. And you can hear all of them right here on ESPN Upstate with the silky smooth voice of Dan Scott running the play-by-play for you. Dan, my man, always great to have you on, big dog. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get you on back next week to talk about a championship run.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Doesn't hurt my feelings at all to think about it. I'll put it that way.
All right, Rob. Thanks, buddy.
There you go. That's the great Dan Scott chatting here on the program with us. Let's take a break. When we come back, I can't promise we're doing faces and heels, but I can't promise we're not. I'll see if Lonzo allows it. That's next on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
So that was not guac. I would tell you that.
Pure green hot sauce.
I believe it might have been. I'm good.
You burning it up over there?
I'm good. No, well,
a little sweat going?
No, I got drainage going big time. So because I'm not making the best decisions today, there was another sauce that came with it. So I just poured that on there too. I did dip my finger in it, and it was hotter than the green sauce. I looked up what that is that I just ate, which is Eros Shafa.
Yep.
And it is actually it's a Chinese.
Okay.
It's fried rice with egg in it and chicken.
Oh, stir fry almost.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I knew it would have chicken in it because of where
Yeah.
it came from.
Yeah.
And it has like scallions and if you think so, it had some decent vegetables in it. I went across the street once, walked in, looked at the clientele, and realized that I didn't belong. But now I'm like,
In a chicken restaurant?
it's not real. It's more of a
Upscale chicken?
no. I don't know how to describe it.
Is it liberal chicken, Lonzo?
Yes, absolutely, Rob. No, I'm more thinking like a yuppie type place. I don't even know if you use that term anymore. What's a yuppie now? I mean, hipster. I don't know. Yeah.
No, yuppies and hipsters will be opposite.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's not that. It was more of a yuppie kind of place. And I'm in there with my hair down and shorts, looking around, going, you know what? People were staring at me. I'm out. So.
I tell you.
And really, it came down to I looked at the menu. All that's a joke. I mean, no, that clientele is like that.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I mean, it's a restaurant. But I didn't recognize the names of any of the stuff on the thing, and I didn't want to take a chance. Now I know what I like.
I recommend the taco bowl.
Is it good? So one of the great perks of working in radio is used to be more so than now is free food. And so you get an email, free food, and usually there'd be a mad dash that you could hear down the hallway of people trying to head downstairs, because you'd know that if you didn't move quickly, or in my case, just get in the way and block, because people are, a lot of radio people are slight of build, or they're so out of shape that they can't catch someone who's not. You got to get down there, but we don't. Was there a lot of food left down there? Probably. Rob, was there a lot of food down there when you went down there?
Yo, there's like a bag, like a big bag and a half. Left.
Yeah, because
like we might go get more. After
because there's not anybody in the building.
Yeah,
really.
when the sales pit was full and there were 23 salespeople down there, and I only experienced this for like 3 weeks.
I mean, it could get ugly.
But yeah, it was. In fact, I remember right after I got here, like the week after I got here, somebody brought in homemade baked goods one day, like a big tray of brownies and cookies and stuff.
Yeah, it was probably Bob.
And they put out an email, and I went down there, and it was like a freaking Royal Rumble to get a brownie.
Prisma the next break.
My favorite segment, Lonzo's favorite segment. It is Faces and Heels, where we give you some socially ambiguous situations and try to determine who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in said situation. A bit of an abbreviated version. I basically forgot to do this on Tuesday, and I wanted to get it in because I didn't want Lonzo to feel like he missed his favorite part of the week. You know what I mean? I'm doing this for the great one.
You are a giver. I appreciate it.
I am. All right, so I got a couple, just really two, maybe three if we have time, but they are some good ones, Lonzo. First off, lady, 33-year-old young woman is married to a 39-year-old man who's a software engineer. Software engineer makes good money doing his job, but since the Rona has gone to work remote, it has not been required to come back to work since then. Husband does like one video call a day, but most of the work he does is obviously being in IT and software. He can access computers remotely and talk over the phone. The wife says that Greg, her husband, wears T-shirts. Now, I'm going to tell you, Lonzo, we're going to be a little jaded in this because she's upset that when he's sitting at the house, not having to do video conferences, right? He's working remotely on computers and the phone. Greg likes to wear T-shirts, superhero T-shirts, graphic T-shirts, whatever. T-shirts and basically joggers or gym pants when he's working remotely. The wife says occasionally people stop by the house for various reasons, from his company to pick up equipment or whatever. And she says, I asked him to start dressing better, start dressing more professionally when people are coming to the house, as opposed to answering the door in a Batman T-shirt and joggers to hand over the equipment, etc. Says, I asked him multiple times to dress better. He refused to dress better. I figured I had to come to a head here, and I packed up all of his superhero and graphic tees, put them away in storage, and basically his closet now is only dress clothes that would be considered professional. I told him, when you start dressing professionally for your day job, you can have your T-shirts back to wear around the house when you're being comfortable. She wants him to dress more professionally for a professional job and absconded with his Batman shirts to make him do so. He's saying, I work from home remotely. I want to be comfortable. Face and heel, Lonzo.
I'm getting angry over here. And
I know you would.
It has nothing to do with the T-shirts. It has to do, this is a control issue. This is exactly what it is. She is wanting to control him, but you gonna pack my stuff? You're gonna too. I mean, it's a two can play that game. She's definitely the heel, and Do the people who show up at the door for him to give stuff to, are they offended by what he wears? Probably not. This sounds like a uppity, this is beyond Karen. I don't know what that is. This is, her name is I don't know. Anyway, I just no. She's definitely the heel, but he's got a problem if he allows that to happen. That means she's probably controlling every aspect of his life, and that's not a good relationship.
So I kind of had her back a little bit until she started treating him like a toddler, right? At the end of the day, it is his job. It is his career, right? Now, I will tell you, I've had people throughout me, and you guys that watch on the stream, you know, I am particularly, have a particular affinity for hockey jerseys, football jerseys, T-shirts when I'm doing the show.
Today's Johnny Cash.
Absolutely. All black because we're going to see the Batman tonight, right? But it's a colored dress shirt, right? And I had this conversation with the lady friend the other day. I said, you know, you can I can go to the show in a hockey jersey and then come home at night and put on a well-tailored suit and pull off both looks. She has a point. If the guy's in a professional job doing a professional job that is expected of him, there is an expectation of presentation that comes along with that. If I rolled up into the studio every day, stinking with my hair undone, somebody would eventually put me into HR. Like Lonzo's got good hair, but he doesn't look like he's, you know, like he didn't shower. He presents himself well, even if it's in a Nightwing t-shirt. That being said, if our boss came down and said, Lonzo, tomorrow, the owner of the company is coming in, please present yourself accordingly. I've seen Lonzo in a jacket and collared shirt before, and he can do it, right? She has a point that he has an obligation to present himself well when his employers are coming to pick up equipment or whatever. But when you take his stuff and hide it from him, you have now infantilized him or whatever the word is. I'm an idiot. Who knows? And that's where you lose me.
Baby.
That's where you lose me a little bit. Texter says they're both heels. She shouldn't have packed up his stuff, and he should just wear nice clothes when someone is showing up and wear what he wants. I agree to some degree.
See, and I disagree. If his company required him to dress up, I'm sure this guy would dress up. But he does not. If we had a dress code here, you adhere to the dress code or you work somewhere else. When you're at home, she's not talking about, okay, we've got complaints from where you work. No, this is all her. It's not place of business. And dude does not need to wear a 3-piece suit while he's sitting at home. That's just ridiculous.
All right, let me give you one more. I think we got time for
I don't know.
more.
I don't know if we have time.
Oh, we absolutely have time. All right. Here's one that crosses the line a little bit. All right. 26-year-old lady and her 30-year-old husband says the husband's the breadwinner. He works in a company that requires him to travel internationally a lot, but he makes great money and supports the family. Well, they just had their first baby. He said about 2 weeks before the baby was born that he was scheduled to fly abroad for a big deal for his company that was going to net him a lot of money. However, the flight he was supposed to come back on was scheduled to be the day before the baby was due. Well, the baby came 3 days early. The man was abroad. He was not there for the birth of the child. That isn't the big issue. The lady takes issue with the fact that his family were visiting after he returned from the trip and the baby had already been born. And after the family came by and they left, he said to the wife, he said to the mom of the child, who was in a bad mood and has been a bad mood because the dad missed the birth of the baby, even though it kind of screwed up into the schedule, missed the birth of the baby. She said, I admit that I was giving his parents a little bit of an attitude, but the baby is brand new. I gave birth by myself. He didn't get home until 2 days after the baby was born because he was traveling abroad. He said, you are giving my parents a hard time when it's not your fault. Please stop. She walked out and said, did he tell you that he was not there for the birth and I have been a single mom by myself the first 2 days of this baby's life, and then took the baby and left the grandparents with only a few minutes of visiting the baby? Face and heel, Lonzo.
They're both heels because they knew what his job was. They knew he'd be abroad and away for long periods of time, and they decided to have a child. They're both heels because it never was going to be an exact science about him being home. They knew this when they got married, so they're both heels.
I'm going to say she's the heel in this one. I am. And that is not to take away from the difficulty of being pregnant, giving birth, and taking care of a life you've created after it's born. I know it's tough, right? I know it's tough. I've seen people do it. I haven't, don't want to, but I've seen people do it. That being said, you have already acknowledged that you live a very cushy life, a very happy life, a very blessed life, lucky life, whatever you want to call it, because of the fact that he travels the world conducting big deals and making a bunch of money. You said this was a trip he had to go on because it was like a 6-figure boost to the wallet if he was able to make this deal happen. The baby came early. It's not his fault. He couldn't make it back, though he tried his best. For you to take it out on the grandparents who had nothing to do with the situation, to the point, I know when my brother had his baby, you know who the most excited person was? My mom, the grandbaby, or the grandmama of the baby. If you would have showed that baby to my mom and then been like, you can't see him anymore for a little while, my mom would have been heartbroken. She's absolutely the heel in this situation. You benefit from his working this job, but then you act like that? That's selfish. Back after this to wrap up the hour on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
Tell you about my friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate. That's who I utilize when I have a healthcare need, and there's a reason why. Number one, it doesn't matter where I am. And those of you that have followed my career here in the Upstate, you know I'm a lot of places a lot of times. I get around a lot. I go to a lot of sporting events. I go out and hang out a lot. And sometimes stuff happens when it's unexpected. That's why Prisma Health has locations all around the Upstate convenient to you. And I've been able to find doctors and healthcare professionals that I trust, because when Prisma has thousands of healthcare professionals that are in their network, you know you can find one that you trust, one that you like, and one that communicates well with you and your family. And at the end of the day, if healthcare for your family is your number one priority, you want somebody that you can trust taking care of that healthcare. And that's why you need to choose Prisma Health. You can learn more about all those convenient locations, all their healthcare professionals, and all the medical specialties that they can help you with by going to prismahealth.org. Prismahealth.org. It's our friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate.
Sunshine Relative 69, Southern Cotton 78. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Espn, ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 81.
Mom, have you booked me for my braces yet? I'm starting middle school this year. With everything happening this summer, I don't really have the time or even the money. Don't worry, Mom. My affordablebraces.com not only has braces starting at $39.95, but it's super easy. They don't even have to use that goop that Parker has to use for his. Come on, Mom. I love my return. Aren't you always saying it's time to grow up? Good point. What's that website again? MyAffordableBraces.com. And it's cheaper than our beach trip.
Golfers, the best Upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2022 Upstate gift card gets you a round of golf at 10 premier Upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your Versa and get your Upstate golf cards now to 3 courses, including the Preserve of the Day, Willow Creek, Legacy Heights, Carolina Springs, and more. Order at the UpstateGolfCard.com. 10 rounds of golf for only $99. UpstateGolfCard.com. UpstateGolfCard.com.
You may be into punk rock, soft rock, or classic rock.
Very much starting to feel the effects of that hot sauce. What a mistake that was. I sent you something on Twitter
Did you now?
that we will be discussing at 2:20 already, but it's an interesting development.
Ooh, it is.
Yes.
It is.
You'll love the reason why the trigger wasn't pulled.
I'm about to read it. Do you think? Hold on, stream. Be right back. I'm gonna ask. All right, wrapping up hour number 2. When we come back in hour number 3, we're going to run through a handful of sports stories as we burn through the third hour of the show. At 2:20, it's everything you need to know about the combat sports world. We got a huge purchase by AEW we're going to tell you about, and a developing story Lonzo just found that makes it even that much more interesting, plus a massive UFC pay-per-view coming up on Saturday evening that even your boy is going to make sure he's available for. And then potentially a boxing story thrown in there as well. That's Fight Club at 2:20. Then we'll take your calls in the third segment and head with Twitter trending topics out for our Friday. Rob and Lonzo back after this on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
I had a listener design some for me. Went to them and corporate had to approve it and everything, and it just became a big hassle. But also, I didn't realize you took us out of it.
Oh, yeah. Wait, do y'all not have the? No. Keegan, I said we're out until Friday. Sorry. I may have misspoke because I am the dumb. But yeah, we're in tomorrow. I don't think your boy has any more days off until like Memorial Day.
I had like 5 weeks of vacation though, so
The benefits of being the Alpha and the Omega, ladies and gentlemen.
Might be the only one though.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate, South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate on the other side. Pushing buttons, switching switches, making the show sound as good as it does. So if you like it, he gets all the credit. If you don't, he takes all the blame. He is the Sam Darnold of this team, ladies and gentlemen. It all falls on his shoulders.
Wait. No, don't you do that to me. That's just wrong.
Fine. He's the Kirk Cousins of this team, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, great. I am the height of mediocrity.
He's the PJ Walker of this team, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want to say it's all I could do to speak. Obviously,
Ryan.
it's all I could do to not interrupt. And I could have jumped in there, but I didn't want to mess with Rashad when he said that Kirk Cousins is a winner, and we've proven he is not. He is the exact medium. And then I looked up Cam Newton's overall record, and he has a better record than Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I'm going Cam. I think I made that clear, right?
Yeah. So
I got 1 year to save my job. Of all the options on the table, it's Cam, unless I leverage believing that I can show progress with a rookie quarterback, in which case I roll the dice on Malik. I think of the quarterbacks, I think Kenny Pickett's the most NFL ready today, although Lonzo, this was the big concern. He turned in a hand measurement today because that's the thing everybody that's the thing that everybody likes to talk about, right? Is hand size. And hand size matters. You talk about the ability to grip the football. You talk about the ability to hang on to the football. Kenny Pickett turned in a hand size, Lonzo, of 8.5 inches. Was that a Twitter trending topic I just killed off?
It's all right.
It's all right. We got plenty more.
Do we?
I don't know.
We might.
I'm not in charge. 8.5 inches was the hand size. Lonzo, if Kenny Pickett was a starting quarterback in the National Football League, he would have the smallest hands in football of a starting quarterback if he was one.
Yeah, that counts. That absolutely counts. Was it a couple of years ago? Mark Ryan and I, because he wanted to, when he was in studio, measured our hands.
I was going to ask you if you had a ruler in the office.
Yeah, I know. I do actually.
Can you get it?
I could get it right now if you want.
Yeah, I do.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, I do.
And Mark bragged because he was like a quarter inch. His fingers were like a quarter inch longer than mine or something. But you know what? This is competition. Everything's. So, there's no doubt your hands are bigger than mine. Man. There's no doubt.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go. I'm checking in at right at 9.
Yeah, you're definitely bigger than Kenny Pickett, and I'm somewhere in between. I'll go get the ruler.
All right, we're gonna do this live on the air. So hand sizes for NFL starting quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett checked in at 8.5. Smallest of the starting quarterbacks this year, 8 3/4 inches, was Taysom Hill. Funny enough. See, I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying. Taysom ain't a small dude. Taysom goes like 6'3", 6'4", but he checked in with 8 3/4 inches, right? Big boy don't equate. You know what they say about guys with big shoes? They wear big socks. That's what they say. All right, let's do this, Lonzo. Let's take official. Where do you measure from? Is it like?
I don't know.
Oh, we got to figure out where we measure from. We got to figure out where to measure from. Where do you measure hand size from? Measured from the tip of the longest finger to the crease under the palm. So I guess that's it right there. All right. So we're going live hand size measurement here.
Oh, that can't be right.
I'm telling you. Hang on. Let's.
No.
8 inches. That can't be right.
Yeah, that's a little over.
I think you're.
That's exactly 8 inches.
I think you're shorting me here, Lonzo.
No, I'm not.
It's cold in here. All right. It's cold in here. Don't judge me. Hang on. I genuinely cannot believe that. I told you I don't have big hands. All right. That's tip of the finger. It is 8 inches. I have smaller hands than Kenny Pickett.
There's no way because yours got to be bigger than mine. Yeah. See.
Okay.
Wait.
I think your ruler's messed up.
No,
you're like a solid 8.5, 8 3/4. Your hands are as big. Kenny Pickett's got big hands. Who has been saying that? Let me see that. I gotta look at something here. So tip of the longest finger to the crease under the palm. according to Lonzo's ruler, which I now suspect is broken, I'm going to give myself 8 and 1/10 inches right there.
Okay.
Lonzo's going 8.5. That would put us, Lonzo. That would put us.
Hey, Rob, I've had that ruler in a while. Please don't break it.
I won't. Maybe out of anger. That would put Lonzo and I as having not only smaller hands than Kenny Pickett, we would have the smallest hands in the National Football League. Now, the smallest hand in the league of starting quarterbacks last year belonged to Taysom Hill, shockingly enough. Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, all with 9. At the top of that list, Lonzo, is let me ask you this. Lonzo, what quarterback has the biggest hands of starting quarterbacks in the NFL last year? Take a guess.
So these are all the starters.
All the starters.
I'm trying to equate it with height. I'm trying to figure out who the tallest quarterback is.
Taysom Hill, 6'4". He's got the smallest hands in the league.
Okay. That doesn't mean he's the tallest quarterback, is he?
I didn't say he was the tallest. I said he's 6'4". He's bigger than me.
I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Russell Wilson checks in at 10 1/4 inches, Lonzo.
Wow.
That is literally longer than my entire hand span.
I will tell you, when I went to college, it was a D3 team. But
Aaron
when
Rodgers, by the way, second at 10 1/8.
So it was a pretty good guess on my part. When I went to college, my coach was a starting tight end in the NFL. Actually played on the Super Bowl winning team. Was All-American at Ohio State. He shook my hand, and his name's Robert Shaw. He shook my hand. I couldn't see my hand. So I mean, that's how big this dude's hands are. So I'm trying to imagine 10-inch hands. That's all I can figure out.
We did it wrong. That is not the way the NFL does it.
Okay.
The NFL does it measured from the tip of the thumb and across the outstretched hand to the tip of the pinky finger. So
All
they
right,
do it
I'll come back around.
laterally. So laterally.
No, you gotta let me come around there.
All right, come around. You make sure it's fair. But laterally, I'm checking in at about 8 3/4 inches.
Yeah, but are you supposed to stretch it?
Yeah,
out?
it's outstretched, right?
Because you're
players' hands are measured from the tip of the thumb and across the outstretched hand to the tip of the pinky finger.
Your thumb is not straight. So
But this hand's jacked. It's as straight as I can.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go right hand. Let's go right hand. Let's go throwing hand.
I'm trying to give you.
No, I appreciate
a
it.
bit more because your thumb is crooked.
Same, about 8 3/4. All right, so I feel much better. I feel less inadequate now as a man.
So,
you know,
stretched out like that.
Stretched out as far as you can stretch your pinky from your thumb, and you're going from the tip of the pinky to the tip of the thumb.
See, this is what I'm saying. You're shorting yourself.
Lonzo's all over 9.5.
See, you're shorting yourself because your thumb is crooked. Your thumbs, you keep your thumbs out like that. Not that's closer.
I feel like that's as stretched out as it can go.
Thumb out. Straighten your thumb out.
These words don't make sense to me. Like that?
Yeah,
that's less.
Look at what I'm doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the worst segment of radio I've ever done in my life.
It's not. Get my ruler back.
All right, so I'm giving myself 8 3/4. Lonzo at 8.5.
Hey, you found some.
We got a little warmer in here. That's what happened. 8 3/4 would check me in as Taysom Hill. It would check me in with Taysom Hill. Lonzo checking in the ballpark of Sam Darnold and Tom Brady. That's where you checked in. You and Tom Brady have the same hands, me and Taysom Hill.
Yay.
Lonzo loves being lumped in with Tom Brady. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. Texter says, and Rob's going to take that ruler to the bathroom. Stop it, Texters! Why do you have to make everything I do worse?
Well, because there's a hard surface in there, you can flatten your hand down.
That's obviously what he meant.
Yeah.
Obviously what he meant. And I say he because I'm 98.888% sure that Texter's a dude.
Well, you don't know that. You're right.
Let's be honest. 99.888% of dudes have done that.
It could be like non-binary. They may not. I mean, we don't know.
Texas says Joe Burrow has small hands, much ado about nothing, such a scare tactic for nothing.
Yeah, because remember, Burrow tweeted out, that he had to retire after the combine because they said he had small hands.
Which was hilarious. Yeah. And the start of the legend of Joey B. All right. A couple of other things I wanted to get in here. We're going to do a couple of sports stories here. Fight Club next. Clemson first spring practice breakdown after that. And then we'll head into Twitter trending topics. Yesterday, we gave you the rough numbers about the ticket prices of the Cleveland Guardians, the Miami Marlins, the Baltimore Orioles, the Seattle Mariners, and the Texas Rangers, and how their salary payroll had all dropped between 47 and 68% over the last 2 seasons, and all but two of them, Alan just texted in and said, I just got off of work and tuned in. That was a weird point to jump in. Yeah, I know. 8.5 inches on the rulers, out of context forever.
He's saying it's a weird point, but he had to keep listening to figure out what it was.
Alan, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, so the guy who, from Baseball Prospectus, who gave us those numbers, went in a little bit deeper. And this is interesting. He pointed out that league-wide ticket prices are up significantly. Payrolls are not. In 2021, baseball payrolls, that is salary paid to players only. In 2021, baseball saw their overall payrolls drop league-wide by 4% in the previous 2 years, and baseball payrolls are at their lowest level since 2015. 2015, the lowest payrolls since 2015. Lonzo, take a stab at this in the Rob Brown Show Home Edition. Can you guess how many Major League Baseball teams, when salaries are down league-wide, how many Major League Baseball teams charged less for a ticket in 2021 than they did in 2015?
2.
0. Not a 1. League payroll to players is down 4%. Some teams as high as 67%. 4% on the league. And granted, that means some teams' payrolls skyrocketed by 40%, 50% as well, right? But ticket prices are all up. All up. And he pointed out that there's one more thing, and he's got a point that he did not consider about why it is that, A, Major League Baseball teams charge as much as they can for a ticket and raise those prices every year. But on top of that, why the tickets do not scale with the payroll, and that is secondary market sellers, right? If you got a Ticketmaster or StubHub or wherever you get your tickets, right? And somebody has posted a ticket. Let's say a club was to sell a ticket, face value, club to seller, or a club to buyer for $75. Well, there's a lot of people. In fact, this is a big problem to me in sports. Companies that what they do is they create software that goes to the team's websites and they buy up clumps of tickets, and then all they do is flip those tickets for 20 or 30 or 40% more. And so suddenly a $75 ticket costs $110, right? And people still buy them. Well, the clubs are effectively saying, we know it's going to happen, and we want to mitigate the secondary value cost by pricing these tickets up as much as we can, which is business. I understand that. That's why I hate secondary resellers, but I also understand that right now there's nothing to stop that, right? The second thing is, in any other business, right? Because a lot of times when people are arguing with me on this, they say, well, in other businesses, right? But in any other business, think about it. Somebody pointed out, and maybe as relevant as ever, the concept of gas stations, right? If a gas station gives an employee a raise and then jacks up the price of their gas a couple of cents, Lonzo, take a stab between us and 385 going that way down Woodruff. How many gas stations you think there are? 7? 10?
4 or 5.
All right, we'll say 5. That means in 3/4 of a mile.
See, I'm sitting here actually counting them. Okay,
Yeah,
I know that
I
one's
saw the wheels turn.
yeah.
In 3/4 of a mile, there's 7 gas. Four. Let's say 4 to 7 gas stations. If one of them charges 2, 3, 4 more cents a gallon than the other, I will drive the extra 100 yards to go to the next one down and save myself 4 cents a gallon. Most of us do, right? Penny pinching. If you want to go to a Major League Baseball game and you're in the city of Atlanta, you have an option. Unless you're in New York or LA, you have one option. And in those cities, you have 2 options. That's why they keep going up. Now, it's up to us whether or not we want to keep paying those prices, right? It's up to us if we keep on paying those prices. But at the end of the day, the players are saying you're paying us less, which we've proven, and you're paying yourselves more by charging the fans more. Why aren't we getting a chunk of that, right? Because they come to see us. And I think it's a valid argument. Texture says Cam Newton has thrown 12 touchdowns with 16 picks over the last 3 years. Kirk Cousins' last 3 seasons, 94 TDs, 26 picks. The Panthers would trade all their QBs in a heartbeat for Cousins, but nobody would take them. Cousins has a 98.6 rating and hasn't thrown for less than 25 touchdowns a season for the last 7 years now. Well, I get the point. The reason that I said I would take Cam over Kirk is not because I think Cam's a better quarterback. I don't, to be honest. I like Cam, but I think Kirk's a better quarterback right now. The reason is what it costs to get either one of them, right? Cam Newton's going to cost you $2 million. Kirk Cousins is going to cost you your 6th overall pick and $17 million.
The other reason is what you're willing to put up for. Is either one of them a win now quarterback? Probably not. You don't have the team to win now anyway. Whoever either one or the other, they're stopgaps. They're not the future of the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins could be the future for 4 years. 4 years more. I mean, he's 34, right? You don't get a lot of Tom Brady's playing into their 40s.
You know, the stats that they just read, did they equate to wins?
I mean, yeah.
Did
half of the games?
Did they? So there you go. I mean, you can be like the best in the league. If your team's not winning, then and you got to say, is him coming to Minnesota to Carolina, is it a step up for him?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. But again, if they got him, it would be a trade for. No, it's not up to him, right? And finally, Texter said, damn it, my boss called me and I missed the response to Rob slowly takes the ruler to the bathroom. I said, stop ruining my show, Texters. That's what I said. Texter says, I shave my arm hair to make my hands look bigger. All right, you guys are just... Bless your heart, you sweet summer child, Lonzo.
What?
Bless your heart, you sweet summer child.
I don't get it.
I'm going to take a break, and I am going to go see if I can take a shower to get your texting funk off of me while Lonzo sits here staring at his hairy arms trying to figure out what that joke means. Back after this with Fight Club on ESPN Upstate.
Still don't get it, but that's fine. No, I'm good. No, I don't want anyone to explain it to me. If Rob is laughing, it's probably pretty dirty. By the way, Tayshawn, if you're still watching, I'm not level 31. Still haven't beat a boss yet, though. I've upped some stats, and I've also left some runes laying in places where I stumbled into and realized I cannot beat this. And it's more so areas where it takes you a while to get down to what ends up being a boss, to the point where, you know, if you die, they all replenish and you have to do it all over again. And it's just sometimes not worth it.
Can I also say that as the Acclaims raps get more burnier, I'm starting to love them more and more.
Sometimes I will skip through entrances. I do not skip through their entrance. No.
You're less popular than Glenn Jacobs' tweets was a great line.
Except I didn't get it, but you know, I'm guessing that I don't know.
He tweeted a controversial take on Putin and how weakness, it was 4-4. He had a tweet about Putin basically, and it was not well received by a lot of people.
Was it not well received by a certain side, or was it not well received by a lot of people?
Entirely by a certain side and about half of the other side. And and it took a lot of heat for it. I got one of the things that you had because I wanted to try it.
It's probably cold now, though. Yeah, I'm paying for it. Don't the sauce.
I'm going both of them. YOLO.
Be careful because it's runnier than what you
Oh
think.
God, it is.
Yeah, I thought it was guac. I had to.
This was the yellow one. This was the second one.
Yeah, the green stuff, not guac, and it's runny.
It's runny too.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. You're right. I don't know how I'm going to stir this in.
There's
Carefully. God.
I was going to say there's a spoon in there too, which is actually better to eat it with is the spoon. Yeah, I had to use the napkin to
this
clean up some spillage because it definitely happened.
I gotta just get a bite out to make room.
Yeah, you're going over the side there, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I just couldn't stop it.
Quick, get Diesel in here so I can watch you eat.
He's having a stroke.
Nothing wrong with being cleanly.
Okay. Solid. Good effort.
What you probably should have done is take a couple bites first before you put that, which is what I did because I wanted to taste it without the added flavor to see what it was like.
Keegan. Yeah, I saw how that segment was going to turn out as soon as we got the ruler out.
Wow, do you have enough napkin?
Yeah, I got another one. I mean, I got it all up. It's just a matter of like getting the.
It's going to smell like that for a while. So.
Oh, that's fine. It smells fine.
Yeah, it's a good smell. The only thing is you can't deny it was you that spilled it because there's evidence, video evidence of,
I ain't scared of Diesel.
Okay. Wasn't talking about him. I was talking about engineering.
I'm scared of them. I am scared of Tony.
Yeah, they're meaner than him.
That's why I did it on. If I did it on that side of the board, I'd understand.
He'll know. In the midst of the death metal, suddenly his head perked up like someone just spilled something in the studio.
Which one of you is eating?
Rashad just tweeted Sky Moore's hands are huge. He didn't give a measurement, though. Yeah, the thing is, what's going on right now as we do Fight Club, Vince McMahon is on Pat McAfee.
Is what?
He's on Pat McAfee.
Hmm.
Which I'll watch later because people are dumb thinking he's going to. Welcome into the Fight Club where we have so much to talk about, but we're going to start with one thing really quick that we were just mentioning. Vince McMahon on the Pat McAfee show today, probably going on sometime in this hour. And anyone who thinks that Vince McMahon is going to get in the ring and wrestle again, what is wrong with you? Dude's like almost 80 years old. He's not going to do that. It's going to be his protege.
What do you get in and take a bump?
He'll take a smack for sure, but no, he won't have to because he's got a protege. Wonder what those vignettes were for all this time, and it's all leading up to him going against Matt. I'm looking forward to a shot of McAfee back in the ring. The 2 times that he was in there.
He did great.
Yes, he did.
He did great.
And but he's got a lot to live up to now.
Celebrities in the recent memory are McAfee and Bad Bunny, right?
That's what I was going to say. He's got a lot to live up to with Bad Bunny. And Bad Bunny showing up in the Rumble and showing well and the run he had as champ and everything. He did. I don't think McAfee can, before I thought McAfee was the guy, and then Bunny showed up. So now he's got something to live up to. And if you ever watch McAfee's show, he talks about how much he hurt afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is WrestleMania though. Good for him if it turns out that he gets to wrestle at WrestleMania. Talk about a dude who's
living the damn dream.
Took a chance and on himself by retiring early and all the stuff that he's achieved. Good for him, especially if he gets a true WrestleMania moment
Can I just
in a
say,
full stadium.
McAfee's life is what I wanted to be before McAfee did it, right? Like McAfee took the legacy he had as being an entertaining kicker and has turned it into what I consider like the perfect bro life, right? He hangs out in his house, well, wherever he hangs out, in this killer decorated studio, wearing hoodies with no sleeves, talking sports and screaming with his boys, and wrestling on the weekends. Like McAfee's, when I say living the dream, it means everything's burning, but at least I got a fun job. When McAfee says I'm living the dream, it's 100% true.
Yeah, but the cool part about that is he's showing that it can be done, and you're not too old to make that dream come true. And you have some tools at your disposal.
In fairness, I have wrestled half the matches that Pat McAfee has.
Right.
And I got time to catch up.
So you got experience. And
how old is Pat McAfee?
I want to say 34, but I don't know.
Let's see. Pat McAfee. You can keep going. I'll tell you when I find it. Oh, he is. You're right. He's 34. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't know the Star Spangled Banner.
He did, even though I'm a full 3 years older than he is. No worries. No worries.
Age is just a number. I'm 53 and a grandpa, and I'm having a blast. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about a couple things. The big thing that happened last night, Tony Khan said he had a big announcement. So automatically everyone believed, including us, that it was going to be an announcement of another wrestler that he picked up, a big name, because there's still some floating out there that are not with any company. But instead, he comes on and says he's purchased Ring of Honor. And when I heard it, I told Rob this earlier, I wasn't surprised as far as the fact that he bought Ring of Honor, because I think it's actually a good move. And Ring of Honor hasn't said that they were just going away. They were sticking around, and it was like they were waiting on something. If you read all the stuff about them, they were waiting on something. This is what they were waiting on.
Yeah, they Ring of Honor had cleaned its roster. They have no wrestlers signed right now. They had purged the roster. They weren't doing anything. They were owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, who owns thousands of local news stations around the country. So purchased by or owned by Sinclair, purchased by Tony Khan, which is kind of interesting for a couple of reasons with no wrestlers on it, because Lonzo basically he gets the entire ROH library, and people are like, why is that a big deal? Well, there are names now that are top tier stars. That's where they cut their teeth. That's where they started. Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. All these guys got their big break out of ROH, and they own that library now. So now if you want to watch the first CM Punk matches, you can go see them through AEW. The second thing is it gives them an already established brand that gives them more opportunity to do stuff with, right? You got Rampage Dynamite, but now you could do Ring of Honor on Friday nights. You could move it to another night, because the thing is, Tony Khan has said multiple times, he wants a dedicated AEW streaming service, right? He wants to build what WWE Network was before it moved to pay-per-view for AEW. Well, I would have said even with 3 or 4 years under their belt, there probably wasn't enough content to justify that. But you add the ROH collection into that, I think now that there is, if you like watching older stuff, but it also gives you many options. You can make Ring of Honor the de facto AEW NXT, right? You can put it up against SmackDown Friday nights, and now there's a recognizable name that has history to it going up against SmackDown if they like to do it, or just put it somewhere completely different and have another show. It opens up a world for AEW that I think it was a great buy by Tony Khan.
Well, week after week, I've complained about the fact that AEW keeps bringing in more and more talent and more to the point where they have so much that you don't get to see some guys on TV each week, even with the added program. So in my opinion, the thing to do is to take Friday night, turn it into ROH, add an extra hour. Either you do it afterwards because wrestling fans are okay staying up till midnight watching wrestling, or you overlap with Friday Night SmackDown. Now that's a big risk because for one thing, one of the biggest advantages SmackDown has is they're on Fox, the Fox that comes with every cable service. If you get local TV, you're going to get a local Fox TV. So they're everywhere and you can get it for free. Whereas, where they're at now on TBS, TNT, you got to pay for that. So do you risk going head to head for 1 hour against SmackDown in the hour where SmackDown usually has their bigger audience, where they have the best matches, leading up to the end of the show? That's usually when things happen. So do you put your first hour against SmackDown's last hour to prove that you are the it brand now?
First off, if it's up to me, I'm putting it on Monday. I'm going at Raw, right? Raw's the show that right now is having the struggle. Again, it's not bad. Like, it's not catastrophe. It's not like there's that like Raw is failing. It's not. In fact, Raw's actually had a couple of decent shows over the past few months. But SmackDown's the stronger show right now, I think. I might put it Monday, but it is, as Lonzo said, and I said this before the show, it's a huge risk because the optics of going head-to-head with WWE, even if just for an hour, if you get smoked, then people that might have otherwise been interested are going to look and go, well, they're not, like, even the fans aren't watching it. They're still watching WWE. I'm just going to stay over here. To me, AEW is without question the better show, the better wrestling organization between the two. But if I'm Tony Khan's advisor right now, I am not suggesting he go head-to-head with WWE yet. Not yet.
Got to get there eventually. Now, before we get to the pay-per-view, one other major thing happened last night. So a week ago, MJF put out the promo that was heard around the world that people were talking about all over the place. It was retweeted. It was put on the people's YouTube. It was all over the place. It was the deal on social media for a really long time. So you think, what is he going to do this week? Of course he's going to turn. He's absolutely going to turn. And not really turn. He just is who he is. And it was another great segment. It really was. This feud, which I've never liked that much because I don't like CM Punk. It's not a work. I just don't like him. And I've said that many times. I think MJF is the best and biggest heel in all of wrestling. And he proved it again last night. When CM Punk, finally, it's like, okay, this is going to end badly. CM Punk ends up with a dog collar on and bloodied.
So last week after that promo, we came on. I said the fun part about this is that we genuinely now don't know where this feud goes, right? Is it a double turn? Does MJF turn and they end up together? Like, how does this work? And I thought Punk really cut an interesting promo from the standpoint of, just because you had this stuff happen to you, which was awful and terrible, and I'm sorry to happen to you, doesn't mean you are allowed to get off the hook for the awful stuff you've done, like burying dead wrestlers and insulting one guy's mom, etc. Like, you don't get away from that. And Punk highlighted, I used to do terrible stuff too. And he talked about when he poured the ashes of Paul Bearer on the Undertaker leading up to their WrestleMania, and when he would go after wrestlers that had real life problems in promos and whatnot. And he said, but you got to get better. And he said, I asked myself this morning, am I the good guy? And the answer I came up with was, I'm trying to be, right? I thought it was a great promo and a great bridge there that didn't let MJF off the hook for all the evil stuff he's done, but kind of like, it was the very, I see the light in you, Darth Vader moment, right? Like, there's a path to redemption here and I want to help you. And then MJF just does it and just goes right back to being MJF in this moment where he had sold everybody that, like, this is going to be a great time. This is going to be a great moment. This is history, right? We're all going to talk. Kick to the boys.
But
incredible.
But at least at that moment, there was not that arrogant smile or anything. He kept it like this.
He looked angry.
Yeah.
You can tell he still feels like, even though I am this guy, and I love the speech, right?
Yeah.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world it doesn't exist. I am the devil himself. He didn't have that traditional smirky, I want to punch him in the face smile. He was furious, and you could tell they're playing the angle of even though he's a terrible person, he knows he's a bad person, and he still blames CM Punk for it. It's incredible. It's a great line.
All right, let's transition into the pay-per-view because there are a lot of matches. I want to try to get to them really quick, and we don't have to spend a lot of time, but let's start with this match. Here's what I think happens. I think the show ends with him telling Wardlow, you work for me. Wardlow is going to get suddenly a contract with AEW, even though he already has one, and then or CM Punk ends up paying him more. I think Wardlow comes out, interrupts the match because this is coming, and CM Punk defeats MJF.
I think you're right. The problem is I almost wonder because I've noticed that AEW doesn't like too often to lean into the most predictable outcome, right?
Yeah.
I don't wonder if Wardlow doesn't go, you know what, I do work for you and smash CM Punk on behalf of MJF.
Yeah, but he's already done that with the ring, slipping in the ring.
So
and
nobody
other
sees
things.
it coming.
Yeah.
So he does it again, right? Like, I don't know. I'm going to go Punk with you, but don't color me shocked if MJF weasels his way into a win.
All right, I'm going to skip the buy-in matches, and let's go Darby Allin, Sting, and Sammy Guevara against AHFO. It's so hard to say.
It's Darby's show, right? Like, it's Darby's show. And considering how over Sammy Guevara is right now, unless one of them goes crazy in turns, it's Darby's show.
I agree. Jericho versus Kingston. I don't want it to be because I don't like Kingston because his mic skills are horrible. But Kingston defeats Jericho.
I actually disagree. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's just different, right? I think he's just a different type of promo, but Kingston wins.
All right. John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. Probably a good shot of one of the best, if not the best matches of the night. I want to go with my guy. So I'm going John Moxley to win the match.
DB wins. And it doesn't necessarily have to be pretty, but I think he wins a stiff worked match. And then him and Mox walk out hanging out together.
All right. TBS Championship, Jade Cargill versus Tay Conti. Probably shouldn't even mention it. Cargill's not going to go down to Tay Conti.
No, I like the build. I like she's a jiu-jitsu threat. Dude, listen.
Have you seen Jade Cargill?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If an 8th grader comes at me with a jiu-jitsu black belt, I'm probably still going to win that fight, right? That's Jade Cargill.
Exactly. And the size would be about the same. Yeah.
She's a beast. I love her. She's great. Like, she is everything that you want that star to be. They ain't unstrapping her like that.
All right. Face of the Revolution ladder match. Keith Lee versus Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ricky Starks versus Orange Cassidy versus TBD. Love that TBD.
Love TBD. Big fan of TBD.
Looked all over the place.
Yeah.
No one seems to know who that
My
is.
2 favorite wrestlers are TBD and Interim, who seems to win championships all over the place
Yeah,
all the time.
a lot.
Obviously I want to go Cassidy. I love Orange Cassidy. I'm just going to say if it comes down to them big 4 horses at the end, this is going to be freaking awesome. Like, if there's a match I'm going to say I'm looking forward to, it's either Mox DB or this, because between those 4 big boys at the beginning and Ricky Starks tossed in there, this could be phenomenal.
I'm worried about Keith Lee going up a ladder. I just am.
You're worried for Keith Lee or the ladder?
Well, yeah, both. Because he's put on some LBs, and I'm worried about him going up that ladder. He's been agile but still.
He can still go.
Yeah.
But he's definitely packed on a few.
There's a potential for him to really get hurt. I'm going to go. Yes.
TBD wins.
No, I'm going to Wardlow actually, because I think it fits the overall narrative.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not mad about that. I think the reaction you got from Keith Lee showing up sets him up for a feud with Powerhouse and Team Taz. So I'll take the big boy, bask in his glory.
Maybe TBD is Cody. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be interesting? All right. AEW World Tag Team Championships, Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks. Wow, this is all stacked up to be a certain way where there's no way Jurassic Express can win this. And I agree, but I'm going to say Red Dragon wins.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I'm flipping a three-sided coin here. I mean, a good story is Jurassic Express figures out a way to win. And here's what I think. This is how I work it out that they do. Red Dragon, Young Bucks end up turning on each other in this match, right? It's set up as they're gonna work together. And I think at the end of the tag elimination match this past weekend, that's all the Young Bucks win. The setup was, oh, look at them, they're on the same page now. They're gonna super kick and just beat the hell out of each other, and Jurassic Express just kind of hangs out on the outside and sneaks in to win.
All right, 2 more matches. Dr. Britt
By the
Baker.
way, Texter says we want Okada.
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Friend of the show. Absolutely. Going up against Thunder Rosa.
That's the new catchphrase, by the way. The new catchphrase is, and she told me she's going to say it on the airs, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, friend of the show.
And she should. Going up against Thunder Rosa, which, I was calling it Thunder Rosa, but everybody else is saying Rosa. So I guess that's how you're supposed to say it. Does Thunder Rosa get her revenge? Will Dr. Britt Baker still be champion? I think there's going to be some betrayal. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say Thunder Rosa wins.
I don't. I think letting her get the win over Britt Baker was to try to push you in that direction. I think Dr. Britt Baker goes underhanded and goes even more heely. I think friend of the show, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD wins.
All right, as usual, we're running out of time. So one last thing, Hangman Adam Page versus Adam Cole. Man, Adam Cole is getting pushed. He really is getting pushed, but he's not going to win. I'm going Hangman.
Agreed. And I think it's a clean win too. I think Millennial Cowboy is a clean win. I think this is ultimately a push for Hangman, right? After he had that death match that effectively it was the other day.
He bleeds too much though.
I think
I'm worried about that.
It makes for great TV, right? Color makes great TV. I agree. Hangman wins. All right, that's going to do it for this segment. Quick break. We're back for a short one, and then Twitter to wrap it up on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Never get to everything.
Sorry, buddy.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, I should have cut the first segment shorter.
It's what some of us would consider good content, and others just don't know what they're talking about. This, where I got it from, I forget where I got it from, actually has some Vegas odds on some of these matches. Yeah, including so Hangman is minus 500.
Okay.
Adam Cole is plus 300.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
So minus, if it has a minus side out front, that means they're the favorite.
Right.
So basically, if it's a minus sign, that means you have to bet that much to win $100.
Okay.
So if it's minus 500, that means you have to bet 500 to win 100. If it's a plus out front, it means they're the underdog, and you bet 100 to win that much, right? So the easiest way to think about it is if it's a minus, you're taking extra money out of your bank account to make the bet. If it's a plus, you're adding more money into your bank if it hits. So if Adam Page wins that and you bet $500, you're getting $100 back.
So Page is
Cole Bebe wins it and you bet $500, you're getting $1,500 back.
So is Page considered a big favorite though?
Yes.
All right, so
that's a big money line.
Britt Baker is plus 200. Thunder Rosa is minus 300.
See, I'm probably gonna pull the trigger and bet on Britt Baker there, right? So you bet 100, you win 200 back on Britt, and Thunder Rosa is what, minus 2? Minus
Yeah.
200? So you bet 200.
No, minus 3 actually.
Minus 3. So you bet 300 to get 100 back. I'm probably playing Britt Baker there.
All right, the only other match that they have like that is CM Punk and MJF. CM Punk minus 325, MJF plus 225.
That's a big spread too. So you're talking CM Punk bet 325 to win 100, MJF bet 100 to win 225 or whatever it is. So Punk is the Vegas favorite in this, and that's a real. Oh, look who's on ESPN. That's a really cheap way. If you're just doing picks, it's a really cheap way to get you some more picks on a competition like the ones you run on Saturday, is to bet Vegas, because those guys know what's coming. They
Change your style, like. Yeah, it's way too loud. I'm just. Oh, okay. Talking too loud. I'm just curious if he talks the same way when he's just talking. He is taking credit for giving Kobe Covington some of the edge with the promo stuff.
Yeah.
But he regrets that he's doing it against one of his own guys.
Yeah. Play with fire, get
There
burned,
is no
son.
line that he wouldn't cross.
I am Jorge Masvidal's daddy.
Oh, Cory's so mean. Kick him out. Do something. Don't let him train in our gym.
Guys don't give a sneaky. I'd rather just go in and break people's faces and get likes like that. But I guess that dude just has to run his mouth.
Why don't you talk about somebody that you're actually going to fight and build to a fight that people can pay money to see, that you can then ask for more money from the UFC to compete in?
While the trash talking caused issues, it was Covington's treatment of Masvidal's longtime striking coach, Paulino Hernandez, that damaged the friend.
I'm going to watch this segment as soon as we're done. ESPN, these features don't usually do anything for me. I believe these two generally hate each other, like genuinely hate each other, which is rare. All right, ordinarily I don't do this, but I'm bringing one of the subjects we didn't get to from Fight Club here because I think it's big, and that's a big UFC pay-per-view. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal is coming up this Saturday night, and the reason I'm interested, Lonzo, I don't think either one of these guys is necessarily a big threat to be a GOAT prospect. This is the first, I've talked to Lonzo in the past. I enjoy WWE for the showmanship. I don't love the showmanship in the UFC, right? In MMA. I just want you guys to go in there and put on a hell of a fight and let me enjoy it. This is the first, what would you call it? Rivalry, I guess. This is the first rivalry in a very long time that I genuinely believe is not for show. I mean, like Colby obviously is real big on getting his name out there in social media and all that, and he knows how to play the game to get attention. I genuinely get the impression this is not a manufactured rivalry. These dudes want to break each other Saturday night. It's probably the first time in a while that the lead up to the fight makes me want to watch the fight more than the fight.
I have to agree with you. And the thing is, the card is not the greatest card. It's not.
It's not a great card.
There's some names on there, but the two fights I want to see arguably would probably be the first fight with Greg Hardy fighting and the last fight, which is this fight. Kobe versus Masvidal. I don't know if it's going to be that much of a fight because Masvidal has not done that well lately.
He really hasn't.
And Covington seems to be on top of his game. So we're going to find out.
Yeah. Jorge Masvidal is a plus 250 favorite. Bet a hundo to win 250. Kobe Covington minus 310 favorite. Bet a hundo to win 310 back, or excuse me, bet 310 to win a hundo back. Yeah, Jorge Masvidal is a big underdog, but again, Lonzo, if it is true beef, like if it is true beef betwixt the two, beef can change a lot, right?
Yeah, a lot of times when it comes down to that, it comes down to who has the clearer head going into it. Because if someone is blinded by anger, they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. If you're trying to kick a dude's head off instead of throwing good strikes, it'll cost you. It'll cost you. And these two guys, I mean, I saw the segment the other day with Stephen A. Smith between the two. I'm just going to say that whoever was riding the dump button for ESPN on that interview deserves a raise. All right? Because he put his work in. He pushed the censor button more in that interview than ESPN's probably pushed in 8 or 9 years combined.
Yeah, it's another one of those. Who's coming on? Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith was loving it. The guy that was working the censor button was having a panic attack. It is the first fight in a hot minute that makes me want to watch, not because I think it's going to be a great fight, because I don't know if it will, but because it's the first time in a while that I genuinely believe an MMA rivalry is a legitimate rivalry.
I've already been told that we're buying it, so
I'm not mad at you for it.
Again,
good job, Ms. Lisa.
Yeah. My wife has said, yeah we're buying it because she wants to see this fight. So.
All right. Let's take a break. We come back. Twitter trending topics to wrap it all up on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo, it's ESPN Upstate.
You do the thing for me. It's me.
So join Odyssey and find your one thing. With warmer spring temperatures,
If you're a coach and your team is trading three-pointers from 7 feet behind the three-point line, but they make 3 or 4 in a row, are you telling them to stop shooting that shot?
No.
I don't think you can, right?
The question
if
is,
they go miss 8 in a row.
how many do they have to miss before you tell them
Before
to
you
stop?
go, okay, we're done with that.
I'm going to go 2.
That was a fun game, but we're done with it.
I think after that second shot, then you're like, yeah, that's it.
That's enough.
You know how that works, though. When you're on fire, you're on fire.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you don't want to put out that fire. The other question is, what do you do if you're the other team?
They were answering back.
Were they?
Both teams were trading.
Okay.
afterwards.
All right.
Yeah. So it started with one guy from the I don't know, their 2 high school teams, but the guy on the team in white knocks down a 3 from the logo. Point guard from the other team knocks down a 3 from the logo. So, well, it started about 8, or I'd say probably 5-6 feet behind the 3-point line. So then the guy on the red team shot from a foot back. Then the guy from the white team shot from a foot back of that. And then the last one, the dude on the red team shot from the half court line and made it 6 buckets in a row.
Get 100% US-based customer service and talk to a real person day or night. Discover exceptionally common sense.
It's time to get in shape.
One of my wrestling buddies just said, Pat is doing nothing but stroking Vince's ego. Yeah, he signs paychecks to him.
It's his boss. Yeah. Of course he is. Hey, people want to come on that show because, I'll be watching it later, but they want to come on that show because the interview is, it's a cool way to interview people. Lesnar broke a table and stuff. It was great. All right, time for Twitter trending topics where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet. The first thing that's trending, and I never thought I'd ever get to say this, Hamburger Helper is trending.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people tweeting about Hamburger Helper. Somebody had tweeted out a question, like one of those survey questions on Twitter, and it said, name a food that you ate a bunch of as a kid, but you don't eat as much as an adult. And Hamburger Helper was like everybody's answer. I'm going to tell you straight up, Hamburger Helper can still go. If you're in a pinch, you need something last minute, but you don't want just like a ham sandwich, Hamburger Helper comes through for you.
Well, a lot of people are coming at Orlovsky because he said Hamburger Helper.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It's Orlovsky.
I'll tell you straight up, if you want something that's more filling than just a ham sandwich, but you're in a pinch, brown you up a pound of ground beef and throw it in some Hamburger Helper. It's easy to put together. It takes 10, 15 minutes. And Hamburger Helper comes through in the clutch. It really does. You can throw some pasta in there if you want to spice it up a little bit.
Well, as a poor children, Hamburger Helper was the way to go because, the boxes were fairly cheap. Didn't always have hamburger when it was cooked at our house, but the flavors.
But you had the helper.
But you got the flavors.
There's a big box of Helper for you.
Well, I mean, it's like noodles and stuff with the flavor packet in there. So if anything, if you did get hamburger, it was awesome. If you didn't, it still was good.
I'm mad at it. After a long, tough day of having teachers throw chairs at you, nothing will soothe the soul like a little Hamburger Helper.
So tasty.
Orlovsky had like a 3-month streak where he was really on it. And then he's just like, let me pull out every bad food take I got all at the same time. Texas said, if you're really poor, you just eat bologna. Hey, bologna on white with mayo? Can't go wrong with a good old-fashioned bologna sandwich.
Who can afford mayo at that point?
That's it for us. Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next with Offsides. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We're back tomorrow for the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Later, brother. Try to get out early before the knockoff. Thanks for watching.